Chapter 7:15. The motorcycle fled frantically, and the truck rampaged behind it. The Gatling gun spewed out angry flames, and bullets rained down on the ground. The two cars, one in front and one behind, quickly rushed out from the other side of the dock. When Li Fan saw this scene, he could not help but swallow his saliva. The Devil's Incarnation and the others were about to go crazy, and they kept cursing in the communication channel. Fuck, this is fucking fine weather, a small fight? This is the daily struggle between the government army and the rebel army. It's nothing, just get used to it. Li Jiwen looked like he was used to it. The government army, the rebel army? Li Fan asked, can you tell me a little about the situation here? After all, they were going to stay in this place for a while, so Li Fan decided to find out more. There are a total of 2 regimes on our island. The previous old government was overthrown, and now the new government is in power, collectively known as the government army. Li Jiwen explained as he drove, this government army is supported by the Filipino mercenaries, so they are stronger. After the old government was overthrown, some of the people from before joined forces and rebelled against the current new government. These people became the rebel army. The rebel army has no support, so they are not as strong as the government army. I see. Li Fan nodded, those Filipino mercenaries are very ambitious, and they want to mess up our territory. They have the energy. Lu Xinnan's words were reasonable, and our country is vast, and there are too many things to manage. How can we care about this kind of small place? That's true. Boss, should we play with them? The Devil's Incarnation was afraid of chaos. I think this place is not bad, why don't we take it down and use it as our base? Fuck, calm down. Li Fan quickly tried to persuade the Devil's Incarnation, no matter what, this is China's territory. Even if we take down this place and develop well, the Chinese government can take it back with just a word from them. At that time, can we still go against China? That seems to make sense. That's true. Li Fan reminded the Devil Incarnate, calm down. Don't get involved in the political fight here. We're here to look for something, not to fight. Remember that. Got it, boss. The Devil Incarnate had no choice but to obediently sit in the car, wiping his .38 rifle over and over again, taking great care of it. We are almost at the hotel. Li Jiwen said, the place arranged for Director Lu is our famous 7-star hotel. The security here was absolutely top-notch. Don't worry, it's very safe. What would a 7-star safe hotel look like? Li Fan was really looking forward to it. When they arrived, their jaws almost dropped. The so-called 7-star hotel had a total of 3 floors, and the specifications were similar to the Ghosthouses in China. However, this small building was surrounded by a circle of 10 meters high walls. 4 turrets were erected in 4 different directions, and there were guards patrolling on top of them. Holy shit, this kind of place is really safe. On the rooftop of the hotel, there was an anti-aircraft cannon and 2 anti-aircraft missile systems. This place was truly a fortress. I'm convinced. When the Devil Incarnate saw this place, he couldn't help but want to give a thumbs up. Holy shit, it's as good as a Chinese prison. It's just a small measure of protection, and it's also for the safety of our distinguished guests. Li Jiwen explained, those politicians of the new government, in order to pull up their political achievements, decided to engage in tourism. This way, at least the safety of the tourists can be effectively guaranteed. It's indeed effective. Li Fan muttered in his heart, this kind of small place is really noisy. As the saying goes, a small temple has a big wind, and there are many turtles in a shallow pond. Director Lu, the ship that you booked is ready, and it can set sail tonight. Do you want to rest for a night and set off in the day, or leave at night? Li Jiwen asked. Let's leave tonight. Lu Xinnan was also a fiery woman, a long night is fraught with dreams, I don't want any variables. Alright, then I'll pick you up at night. Li Jiwen was very polite, everyone, have a good time. Oh right, when I'm not around, don't go out, otherwise it'll easily cause some unnecessary trouble. Got it. Lu Xinan didn't want any side issues to arise, so she agreed to Li Jiwen's request. Go back and rest, we'll gather again at night. After Lu Xinan sent Li Jiwen out, she instructed a few people who were accompanying her. And, it just so happens that I'm also tired, I'll take a nap. Li Fan entered his room, and sure enough, it's no different from the guest house. The so-called 7-star hotel, the bed is still 2 military beds put together. Li Fan Gij, I'm in the next room, if there's anything, remember to call me. Got it, rest first, I'm afraid tonight will be torturous. As soon as Li Fan finished speaking, he felt that his words were ambiguous. Fortunately, Yin Tian still has the temperament of a little girl, relatively pure, and didn't hear the other meaning. Lu Xinan is different, this girl is an old hand. After giving Li Fan a hard look, she also returned to her room. Everyone returned to their own room, and Li Fan sat on the creaking military bed and began to meditate. Only the devil incarnate is unable to stay idle. He, Pewdie, and Sun Qingchen are staying in a 3-person room. He tossed and turned on the bed, continuously tossing and turning, causing Sun Qingchen to frown. Are you sick? Can't you obediently lie down for a while? Old Sun, I saw a few girls on the way here, they look pretty good. This island's feng shui is good, it's good for people. The devil incarnate said to Sun Qingchen. Good my ass. Each and every one of them is dark and skinny, like a monkey, so ugly. Sun Qingchen rolled his eyes, what kind of aesthetic is that? It's getting closer and closer to Lei's. In the future, don't play with him so much. Hey, who are you insulting, whose aesthetic is close to his? The devil incarnate felt deeply humiliated, is that the human's aesthetic? I see that these girls are indeed not bad, although they are a bit dark, that small waist, long legs, one look and I can tell that they will live well. The devil incarnate starts to urge Sun Qingchen, look, it's not easy for us to come to this island, why don't we take the opportunity to experience the local customs here? You just want to test the depth of the girls here, right? Sun Qingchen ridiculed without hesitation. Damn, you, old Sun, are awesome, you are a monk who doesn't eat the food of the mortal world. The devil incarnate curled his lips, right now, I will bring this fake monk to have a taste of the meat here. Ba, this poor monk is a real monk. Pewdie emphasized by the side. Then are you going or not? Naturally. Chapter 716. Sun Qingchen also abided by the rules. He basically wouldn't eat on the day before the mission, in case he lost his energy and got distracted. But the devil's incarnation and Subhoodie do not care about this. The two of them encouraged each other and sneaked out of the 7-star guest house during the break. Are we driving or taking a taxi? Subhoodie asked after leaving the house. This matter needs to be low-key. Let's take a taxi. The devil's incarnation looked at the street full of pickup trucks and minivans. He felt that driving a Wrangler is a bit too high profile. The two of them stood at the entrance of the hotel and hailed a passing van. Most of the vans here are China's godly cars, Wuling Hongguang. This kind of minivans can be called the MVP type of fighter jet. It is very cost-effective and is very popular on this island. Placing a yellow taxi billboard on the roof of the silver van, the street is filled with this kind of taxi. Moreover, the people on this island mainly speak Chinese. The driver rolled down the window and looked at the devil's incarnation duo and asked with a pure Chinese accent. Two big brothers, do you want to get in? Let's go. The devil's incarnation did not say anything and opened the door and brought Subhoodie into the car. Where are we going, big brother? The driver started the car and the van swayed a few times before slowly moving on. Where is there fun here? Io, you two came at the right time. Recently, we've been working on that so-called tourist city. A few days ago, we planned a cultural park. Do you want to go there? Forget about the park. The devil's incarnation said more specifically, we want to go to a place where men play. Aya, why didn't you say so earlier? If you said so earlier, I would know. The driver laughed, okay, I will bring you two to a place. I guarantee it will be fun. You won't trick us, right? The devil's incarnation patted his 38 style. This thing of mine is not to be trifled with. Big brother, you are so funny. The driver picked up a shotgun from the side and threw it on the front passenger seat. Who doesn't carry this thing for self-defense? Besides, don't you believe me? Just listen to my accent and you will know that I am Dongbei-in. Our Gada is very practical. Why did Dongbei-in come here? It's because I can't stay in my hometown anymore. He wanted to leave the country and explore the outside world. I didn't expect my family to be so fucking big. I ran so far away, and I'm still within the borders of the country. But it's pretty good here. At least I can live freely. As soon as the driver finished speaking, a siren suddenly sounded from behind. They looked back and saw a pickup truck behind them. A man with a red bandana was holding a Gatling gun and aiming it at them. Holy shit, what's going on? The devil's incarnation was taken aback. I'm sorry, big brother. Other than being a driver, I also do some part-time work for the resistance army. I'm guessing that the government forces have their eyes on me. But don't worry, it's nothing out of the ordinary. Don't be afraid. As he spoke, he instructed, please fasten your seatbelts. Just as he finished speaking, the accelerator was already pressed to the floor. The two of them felt their bodies shake violently. Next, their backs seemed to be pushed by someone as they leapt forward along with the car. This Wuling Hongguang can push back. Are you kidding me? The driver drove this Huaxia godly car and fled frantically on the road. The pickup truck following behind was also a godly car produced by the Great Wall of China. It was sturdy and durable. The machine gunner grabbed the Gatling gun and fired at the Wuling Hongguang in front of them. The bullets were fired wildly as if they were free. Many of the cars behind them were hit by the unexpected disaster. They were knocked over and a few of the cars even exploded. The pickup truck continued to charge forward, chasing after the van. The driver drove unhurriedly and nimbly into a small alley on the side. Don't be afraid, the government forces are a bunch of idiots. They're rookies. They drive like pussies. As the driver spoke, he knocked over a few trash cans at the side and went to the other side of the alley. The pickup truck was slightly wide, and the alley seemed to be very difficult to pass through. It made a turn at the entrance of the alley and went around from the other side. Fuck. You guys are playing at life and death speed. Can you not bring us along? The devil's incarnation almost vomited from the shaking. Let us out of the car. That won't do. I am a person with principles. The driver said firmly. For more than 20 years, I have been sending my customers to the places they want to go, rain or shine. Fuck, if we continue to drive like this, we will die. Don't worry. Leave it to me. The driver had the look of an experienced driver. He drove the van out of the alley, and the pickup truck turned from the side of the street. The driver held the steering wheel with one hand and picked up the shotgun with the other. He aimed it at the passenger window and fired a shot at the pickup truck. Bang! The driver of the pickup truck was sprayed into a meat paste, lying on the steering wheel. The pickup truck lost control and crashed into the nearby bungalow, smashing through the wall and into the bungalow. The driver put down the shotgun, opened the glove compartment, took out a Zongnanhai cigarette, and slowly lit it. Brothers, how was it? Was it exciting? The driver asked. Exciting, this is so exciting. The devil's incarnation was so angry that he wanted to curse. He had not even started his mission, and he almost died in this place. Why was it so dangerous to take a taxi on this island? Ba. Calm down. Pewdie comforted the devil's incarnation. Sir, please send us to the place as soon as possible. This poor monk can't wait to discuss Buddhism. What do you mean by discuss Buddhism? The driver clearly did not understand such a profound thing. I don't understand. But we are almost there. It's just up ahead. The two of them looked in the direction the driver was pointing. There was a small yard in front of them. There was a red lantern on the yard door, and the pink color was very obvious. Let's talk about this place. Prostitution used to be legal. The driver said, but after the new government came to power, the taxes in this area were very tight. Many places can't continue operating, and they can't make ends meet. A few ladies' daily income isn't even enough to feed those officials. From time to time, those officials would come over and play, ruining a lady each time. Over time, most industries went bankrupt, leaving only a few hidden ones that survived in another way. The driver pointed at the courtyard gate. You two can go in. Once you're inside, tell them that Wei-san recommended you. You can get a 20% discount. Is this place okay? Brother, you don't believe me. The girls in this place are all the best on the island. The driver was a little agitated. You don't believe me, do you? Chapter 7:17. I do, of course I do. The devil's incarnation thought, this guy is from the northeast, he should be more honest. Then it's settled. Let me tell you, you've asked the right person. If you want to go to some high-end place, I really don't know. But if you want to ask about this kind of place, I really know best. The driver said with assurance, on our island, this industry is very developed. Good, 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 then let's go. The devil's incarnation was a little impatient. Ba, this poor monk wants to discuss the Dharma with the local female benefactors, I can't wait. Pewdie put his palms together with a pious look. The devil's incarnation looked at Pewdie with contempt. Don't worry, we're almost there. The driver drove them to a shabby small hotel and stopped the car. Right here. The driver stopped the car and said with a smile, the girls here are very good, I guarantee that you two will be satisfied. Okay, how much is the fare? The devil's incarnation asked. The local currency was US dollars, they exchanged some when they got off the boat. $12. The driver pointed at the meter, it should be $15, but considering that I took a detour to avoid the government army, I'll let you off with $3. Okay, big brother, thank you. The devil's incarnation took out a handful of US dollars and stuffed it into the driver's hand. The driver got on the car and left. The devil's incarnation and Pewdie looked at each other. Are we going in? Buddha said, I won't go to hell, get lost. The devil's incarnation walked into the hotel. At the front desk was a woman in her 30s, her skin was a little dark, obviously caused by the sun all year round. You too, do you want to stay? The woman asked. Nope. The devil's incarnation went straight to the point, we're here to play with girls. The woman looked at Pewdie a few more times. The devil's incarnation quickly explained, don't mind him, he's a fake monk. Ba, it doesn't matter if the world doesn't understand this poor monk will become a Buddha himself. Pewdie muttered to himself. Choose two beautiful girls. I want the best you have. The fiends incarnate couldn't be bothered to pay any attention to Subhoodie. Alright, big brothers, let's go upstairs to room 305. Wait a moment, I'll let the girls go up. The woman said with a smile, the two big brothers really know how to find a place. Our big sisters are all prettier than the other. Good, that's good. What I want is beauty. The devil's incarnation was filled with anticipation. Subhoodie followed him upstairs. The rooms here were no different from those in the guest houses, they were most likely all 7 stars. The two of them sat on the hard sofa, waiting for the girl to come in. Not long after, there was movement outside the door. A few girls filed in and walked into the room. The fiends incarnate and Subhoodie were both stunned. The quality of the girls here was simply ridiculous. The devil incarnate counted. There were a total of 8 girls, and 6 of them were over 30 years old. The other 2 were at least 50 years old. At this age, you should just stay at home and enjoy your remaining years. Don't come out to earn money. The remaining 2 were slightly younger, but their figures were Huang Lei's cup of tea. How is it, big brothers? Our big sisters here are not bad, right? The woman also followed upstairs. I'm also here to receive customers, but I'm the star, so the price is a little more expensive. The devil's incarnation's face was filled with black lines. Subhuti thought seriously for a moment, then pointed at a woman in her 40s and said, "This poor monk sees that this female patron is quite intelligent. This poor monk thinks that this female benefactor is quite intelligent. Why don't we have an in-depth spar?" "Sure." The woman wore heavy makeup, and the foundation on her face could block bullets. The devil's incarnation nearly vomited blood. Fuck, I didn't expect Subhuti to have such a hardcore taste. No wonder he could hang out with Huang Lei. This was really going to hell. Big brother, which one do you choose? After Subhuti left with the lady, the female boss turned to ask the devil's incarnation. "Forget it, I'm not playing anymore." The devil's incarnation had already understood. What honest big brother from the northeast? He had clearly tricked them. If he wasn't wrong, the price of these girls wouldn't be low. That big brother driver from the northeast had definitely gained a lot from them. Motherfucker. Not playing. Since you're here, you can't not play. The female boss continued to persuade, "Are these girls not to your taste? Why don't we do this? We still have some imported goods. Do you want to try them?" "Oh, imported goods?" "Yes, pure imported goods. It's just that they're a little expensive." "Sure, bring them over to take a look." The devil's incarnation did not lack money. All he wanted was to have fun. He had come out to play, so he did not want to go back with his face covered in dirt. He often went to Russia and played with some Russian girls. They were young, tender, and beautiful. These Russians were only beautiful when they were beautiful. Once they were older, they would be unsightly. "Big brother, please wait a moment." The female boss chased the girls away and left the room. Soon, under the devil's incarnation's expectations, she brought a few girls in. Foreign girls, they were indeed foreign girls. But he did not want African girls. Looking at the few girls in front of him who were as black as charcoal, the devil's incarnation nearly cried. One of the girls even smiled sweetly at him. That mouthful of snow-white teeth almost blinded the eyes of the devil's incarnation. "Damn, are you kidding me?" The devil's incarnation was so angry that he stood up and was about to leave. But at this moment, two black-skinned men stood at the door, blocking the devil's incarnation's path. These two men even took out their pistols from their pockets. Both of them were black stars and aimed at the devil's incarnation. "You want to go out without playing? That's against our rules here." The lady boss's smile was very sweet. The devil's incarnation also smiled. "A black shop. Interesting. Friend, be tactful. Play with some girls and go out happily like that bald friend of yours." "Why not? I don't want to play today." "Bite me?" The devil's incarnation sneered. One of the black-skinned men immediately raised his gun and pressed it against the devil's incarnation's temple. But the devil's incarnation tilted his head to the side. At the same time, he pulled his hand and removed the magazine of the gun. At the same time, he pressed the black-skinned man's hand and fired a shot at the other black-skinned man. Bang! The bullet in the barrel directly hit the black-skinned man's calf. The man directly knelt on the ground. The devil's incarnation raised his foot and kicked his pistol away. At the same time, the devil's incarnation pulled open the white cloth and took out the 38 styles inside. He directly aimed at the female boss in front of him. "Look at your forehead. Do you mind if I make a big hole in it?" The female boss's body trembled slightly. She looked at the devil's incarnation in front of her in shock. Chapter 7:18. The devil's incarnation pulled the bolt as the lady boss hurriedly smiled apologetically. This, sir, let's talk this out. Talk nicely. When that brother of yours was about to attack just now, he didn't have any intention of talking nicely. The devil's incarnation chuckled, "Talk nicely with me now. It's a little late, sister." Then Then what else do you want? The lady boss looked back and without hesitation, the devil's incarnation turned his head and fired a shot. Bang! The bullet blew away the brains of the black man who was about to make a move. What kind of person was the devil's incarnation? He never showed mercy when he attacked. It was unknown when the monk would come out, but the devil's incarnation decided to stabilize the situation first. Just as he was about to poach some really pretty girls from the lady boss, the door to the hotel was suddenly kicked open. More than 10 government soldiers with red headscarves swarmed in and roared the moment they entered. There are rebels here. Take them down. An employee downstairs explained, Sir, we don't have any rebels here. Everyone is a good. Before he could finish speaking, a gunshot was heard from downstairs. Fuck, I clearly saw a few rebel accomplices enter this hotel just now. Men, search for me. When the devil's incarnation heard this, he frowned and felt that something was amiss. 2 government soldiers had already climbed to the 3rd floor and saw the devil's incarnation standing there. It's him. Rebel accomplices. Fire. A government soldier raised his AK-74 and fired a few shots at the devil's incarnation. The devil incarnate grabbed the lady boss and placed her in front of him, using her as a meat shield to block the bullets for him. In the blink of an eye, the lady boss's body was riddled with holes. The devil's incarnation pushed the lady boss's body to the door of room 305. Then, he raised his rifle and shot a government soldier to the ground. The other government soldier jumped in fright and hurriedly hid behind the corridor. When the people downstairs heard the commotion, they ran upstairs. The devil incarnate put down his rifle and pulled out a Colt pistol from his waist. He aimed at the calf of the soldier who was hugging the wall and fired a shot. The bullet pierced through the soldier's calf, and the soldier rolled on the ground in pain. His life was taken away by the devil incarnate. The devil incarnate had participated in some special battles before and was a veteran through and through. He half-squatted on the ground, holding the 38 style, making his body form a scaffold. Holding a gun in this position was the most stable. As soon as a government soldier poked his head out from the stairs, he was shot to death by the devil incarnate. The demon king of confusion smiled, then gently stroked his 38 styles. He pulled the bolt, replaced the cartridge, and continued to aim at the stairs. In the end, none of the government soldiers dared to go up the stairs. Sniper. Damn it, the rebel army actually sent out a sniper. We must kill them. The government troops were shouting non-stop downstairs. Many prostitutes who showed their faces were shot dead by them. However, the devil incarnate did not care about that at all. He quietly waited on the 3rd floor and dealt with the remaining government troops. Pewdie must have been having so much fun that he did not care about what was happening here at all. He definitely heard the gunshots. The devil incarnate held his gun and waited for his next target with a heavy heart. At that moment, a tear gas grenade was thrown up. However, the devil incarnate was prepared. He pulled out a PPK from behind his waist with his left hand and raised his hand to fire. The bullet was a blank cartridge. When the bullet was fired, it did not have much penetrating power, but it directly knocked away the tear gas grenade in the distance. The tear gas grenade returned downstairs and choked the group of government troops. The devil incarnate also breathed a sigh of relief. He had kept the blank cartridge to use as a grenade, but he did not expect it to be a tear gas grenade. The government troops did not expect the devil incarnate to be so fierce, and for a moment, they were in a dilemma. However, they were the government troops after all, and they could not leave the devil incarnate alone. Soon, 5 government soldiers walked up together with their guns, ready to launch a special attack. The devil's incarnation smiled. He was already prepared. His precious Type 38 was modified. The devil incarnate pulled out the grenade launcher under the barrel, aimed at the staircase, and fired. The grenade was fired, and before the 5 government troops could react, they were blown into pieces and swallowed in flames. Damn the resistance army. Bastard. The remaining government troops almost peed their pants. There was at least a platoon of Resistance Army soldiers upstairs. Could this be a base of the Resistance Army? The government troops suddenly became a little excited. If they could get rid of this base, it would be a great achievement. Quick, call for help. Go. The government troops sent people to guard the place while looking for help to attack the base. Very soon, an armored vehicle drove over with a mortar clamped on it. The barrel was aimed at the third floor. The devil incarnate looked through the window and saw the armored vehicle outside. He immediately hid in the corner by the window and aimed at the armored vehicle below. The mortar was aimed at the direction of the window, but the devil incarnate aimed at the barrel and fired. Bang! A shell directly exploded in the barrel. The barrel of the armored vehicle was blown into pieces. What government troops? Just so. The devil incarnate curled his lips. As soon as he finished speaking, his mouth opened wide. 5 armored vehicles drove over from the side, and the barrel was aimed at the devil incarnate's direction. Fuck, this is awesome, the devil incarnate almost peed his pants. Are you kidding me? Is there a need to go so far? I'm only one person, and most of my weapons were left in the hotel. How can I fight against 5 armored vehicles? At this moment, a person behind him patted the devil incarnate's shoulder. The devil incarnate turned around and saw Pewdie. Fuck, you're finally done. Ba, the Dharma is boundless. Naturally, I had a little more discussion. As Subhoodie spoke, he glanced at the 5 armored vehicles below him. What's the situation? I've been targeted. The devil incarnate sneered, can we go now? Sure. We can't go through the main entrance. Take me away. Sure. Subhoodie nodded, then grabbed the fiend's incarnation and leapt out of the window. 5 barrels were aimed at them at the same time, but Pewdie descended from the sky and directly stepped on an armored vehicle, immediately flattening it. The quality of this thing is not that good. Pewdie sighed, boring. Let's go back. With that, Pewdie carried the devil incarnate and used his lightness skill to step on the vehicles on the road and quickly left. Chapter 719. As night falls, Li Fan pushes open the door and walks out. Sun Qingchen and the rest are already waiting in the suite. The devil incarnate is standing by the side, quietly checking the equipment in the waterproof bag. Subhoodie is also standing at the corner with his eyes closed. He is holding a prayer bead in his hand and seems to be chanting sutras. Boss, you're here. When Sun Qingchen sees Li Fan, he nods his head respectfully. How's the preparation? Everything has been checked. There's no problem. We can set off at any time. Sun Qingchen is also from the Special Forces. When he is here, he is in charge of the Devil Incarnate's group. This gun is not bad. The Devil Incarnate takes out an SVD and looks at it, however, it is not as good as my 38 Styles. Of course, your 38 Styles has a wonderful history. Li Fan laughs, that is something that cannot be exchanged for no matter how much money you have. Of course. Boss knows his stuff. When his precious gun is mentioned, the Devil Incarnate is extremely happy. It is as if he is talking about his beautiful wife. Li Fan even feels that in the future, the Devil Incarnate's lover will be this 38 Styles. When I was training, did you guys cause any trouble? Li Fan suddenly asks. How could that be? The Devil Incarnate hurriedly explains, I rested for the entire afternoon and am ready to set off. Sun Qingchen does not say anything. Although he is loyal to Li Fan, as the person in charge of the Devil Incarnate, he cannot report everything. Sometimes, when it is something that should be shouldered, one must shoulder it. Prepare to set off. Lu Xinan pushes open the door and enters with Yu Feng by her side. Yu Feng is different from the past. Today, he is wearing a special combat uniform with an American M4A1 on his back and 2 Uzi assault rifles on his waist. Lu Xinan is also wearing a black tights with a bulletproof vest on the outside. She is holding an MP5 and a pair of custom-made glasses, a must-have on the battlefield. Damn, you are a future female warrior. Li Fan couldn't help but laugh. This woman was too awesome. It might be very dangerous tonight. I don't want to be a burden. Lu Xinnan said. I really should let you meet Bai Lin Luo. Li Fan thought of the Sagittarius version of Lu Xinnan, and could not help but envy Bai Lin Luo's ability. Enough nonsense, let's go now. As Lu Xinnan spoke, she led these people out of the hotel. I feel like there will be a tough battle tonight. The devil incarnate muttered as he carried his canvas bag and went out. Jinx. Sun Qingchen glared at the demon incarnate while the latter chuckled. Let's go, let's go. I hope nothing happens tonight. When the group of people left the hotel, they were all stunned. The outside was already surrounded by government troops. There were at least 100 of them. 6 armored vehicles cleared the way, and countless police cars surrounded the two sides. The government soldiers shone their searchlights at the hotel. They didn't dare to enter, but they didn't want to leave either. What's the situation? Lu Xinnan frowned. Could it be that this mission was exposed? Impossible. This is a secret mission. It's impossible for it to be exposed. When Lu Xinnan was guessing this matter, a government officer used a loudspeaker and shouted. Resistance Army, stop resisting. You have been surrounded. If you don't surrender, we will launch an attack. Resistance Army. Lu Xinnan frowned even deeper. Resistance Army. They are coming out. They might be launching an attack. Prepare to fight. The officer ordered, and the government troops immediately began to prepare to attack. We don't have time to waste with these people. Let's leave this place. A total of 5 people came out. Lu Xinnan no longer cared about the Bentley. She asked Yufeng to start the Wrangler and the 5 of them sat in it. Only Li Fan grabbed the railing of the car, stepped on the pedals, and stood outside the car. The Wrangler went all out. It crashed into an armored vehicle and then fiercely rushed out. Chase them. The officer immediately ordered. These people must be the cadres of the resistance army. If they are captured, I will definitely be promoted and get rich. Perhaps, I might even become the commander of this island's defense. He ordered his police cars to chase. The 6 armored vehicles in front opened up a path and followed closely behind the Wrangler. Come, let me give you a big gift. The devil incarnate rolled down the window and poked his head out with an RPG on his shoulder. This thing was prepared by Lu Xinnan. Unexpectedly, before they even reached the sea, it already came in handy. The RPG spewed out flames as a missile flew out and hit an armored vehicle, overturning it. Resistance Army, what is going on? Lu Xinnan sat in the car and asked again. Don't know. Perhaps they are retarded and treated us as the resistance army. The devil incarnate hurriedly said, these fellows are a bunch of good-for-nothings. There must be a mistake in the information. Leave it to me. Sun Qingchen's face darkened as he stared at the devil incarnate. Let me deal with these people. Sun Qingchen knew that Lu Xinnan did not want to reveal Li Fan and Pewdie's strength too early. He opened the waterproof bag and took out a few clay bombs. Sun Qingchen looked for an opportunity and threw a clay bomb. After the clay bomb was thrown out, it stuck on the road. An armored vehicle happened to pass by. Sun Qingchen pressed the switch in his hand. Boom! Flames soared to the sky and sent the armored vehicle flying. When the armored vehicle landed, it pressed on another armored vehicle. The 2 vehicles were pressed together, blocking the road of the other vehicles. The road was not wide and was immediately blocked. The remaining police cars and armored vehicles were blocked behind, temporarily shaking off the Wrangler. What a joke! The devil incarnate exclaimed, Big Brother's son is indeed powerful. Humph. Sun Qingchen was wiping the devil incarnate's ass. He rolled his eyes, hugged an SVD, closed his eyes and no longer said anything. Li Fan had already heard the gist of it. He stood outside the car and asked directly. Pewdie, where did you guys go this afternoon? Ba. We went to a place recommended by a kind-hearted big brother from the northeast. Subhuti said honestly, that place was filled with girls. The fiend's incarnation and I spent some time discussing the Buddhist Dharma with them. Sure enough. Li Fan continued to ask, what happened after that? After that, the government army came and insisted that the devil incarnate is the resistance army and chased after us. Fuck. Li Fan really wanted to throw the devil incarnate out. Your grandpa. Why did you say it out loud? The devil incarnate stared at Pewdie, wanting to cry but having no tears. A monk does not lie. Fuck your grandpa. A monk does not lust after women. Chapter 720. The devil incarnate was heartlessly betrayed just like that. He complained incessantly. But he couldn't say anything, after all, he couldn't beat Pewdie. Humph, your man. Lu Shinan snorted with dissatisfaction. Li Fan said. I'll take the blame for him. If the government forces dare to harass us on the road, I'll make sure they won't be able to return. TSK, you're such a protective guy. Lu Shinan knew Li Fan's temper, so she didn't say anything more. Tofu, you can go out and play in the future, but you must wipe your ass clean. Li Fan didn't want to be the devil incarnate, but he still reminded him, don't make this kind of low-level mistake again. Yes. The devil incarnate bowed his head and admitted his mistake. In Li Fan's team, the most reassuring thing was not to worry about being betrayed by the boss. No one is following us. Li Fan stood next to the car, looking into the distance. His eyes were like a falcon's, staring at the scene in the distance. That's good. Anyway, if someone comes, you'll help me solve it. Lu Shinan was very confident in him. Knowing that Li Fan was willing to help, she closed her eyes and didn't say anything. Just when he was about to relax, an Apache suddenly appeared in the sky. The Apache's front muzzle turned and aimed at the Wrangler. Tututu. Bullets were shot down like rain, chasing after the Wrangler, constantly hitting the road, splashing red sparks. I'll leave it to you. Lu Shinan said. No problem. Li Fan pointed his finger, and the extraordinary sword on his waist popped out and turned into a black longsword. Under his control, the extraordinary sword turned into a black lightning and instantly pierced through the Apache. Boom! Li Fan's flying sword was like a missile, directly blowing up the Apache. The extraordinary sword flew back to Li Fan's body and was hung on his waist. Although Lu Shinan was aware of Li Fan's abilities, she couldn't help but be a little dumbfounded when she saw this move. Fuck, this is too unbelievable. Flying swords, it's almost as good as a xianxia novel. Are you a sword immortal now? Lu Shinan could not help but ask. That's not it. Li Fan laughed. Now that my strength has broken through to the 7th level, my control over my true chi has gone up another level. It's not a problem for me to control a sword. Can you fly on a sword? Don't mess around. How can I do that? Li Fan's smile deepened, that would be the real xianxia. I'm just using my true chi to control the sword to defeat the enemy. If I want to control the sword to carry my body and fly in the air, the consumption of true chi will be too terrifying. It was impossible to fly on a sword. Unless it was like Qin Junhua, who only used the flying sword as a skateboard, it was still barely possible. Wuxia was wuxia. Li Fan didn't know if there was a so-called xianxia world above wuxia. However, at present, he felt that the xianxia world did not exist. If it existed, with his strength, he should have seen some people in the xianxia world. Li Fan reached out to touch his extraordinary sword. After activating the 7th level, he seemed to have entered a whole new realm. In this realm, Li Fan felt that his control over his true chi had indeed risen to a new level, and he also had a little more control over the sword. This was probably the power of the Dragon Divine General. Li Fan stood next to the car. As the guardian of this car, he protected the Wrangler all the way to the port. Li Jiwen had been waiting for a long time. He stood under a small salvage boat and smiled at Lu Shinan. Boss Lu, the boat is ready and waiting for you. Good. Lu Xinan glanced at the salvage boat and nodded with satisfaction. Not bad. Although the boat is not big, the facilities on it are the most complete. Li Juwen explained, not to mention some treasures, even if it's a boat, it won't be a problem. He said and clapped his hands. The deck of the boat was immediately lowered to welcome Lu Xinan and the others. Good, I hope what you said is true. Lu Xinan nodded and led Li Fan and the others to board the fishing boat. The government army did not follow them, so the fishing boat was able to set sail smoothly. According to the coordinates given on the map, they came to a quiet sea. According to the mark on the map, the treasure should be below here. Lu Xinan pointed to the bottom of the boat. According to the GPS, the diving equipment is ready. Li Jiwen took out 3 sets of diving equipment, but only 3 sets. Who wants to go down? 3 sets? Lu Xinan was speechless. What happened to the equipment? Boss Lu, this diving equipment is very expensive. Moreover, the resources on this island are limited. Getting 3 sets is already the limit. Lu Xinan, me and the devil's incarnation will go down. Li Fan distributed the tasks. Brother Sun, you stay here and look after the boat. Ba, this little monk can hold his breath for 2 hours and can also go down. Hold his breath for 2 hours. That's awesome. Li Fan could not help but want to praise. It seems that this invincible golden body is indeed different from others. Alright, the 4 of us will go down. The oxygen tanks can only last about 2.5 hours. As a backup, each of us will carry 2 oxygen tanks. The other oxygen tank is not full enough, so it can only last a little more than 3 hours. Li Jiwen reminded them, so, you must pay attention to the time and not exceed it. Got it. Lu Xinan confirmed the time, put on the diving equipment, and jumped into the water. The devil's incarnation was also done and was checking his equipment. Time, 19:20 at night, enter the water. Lu Xinan sat on the railing. After she finished speaking, her whole body leaned back and fell into the water upside down. Li Fan could only hold his breath in the water for 15 minutes. If he wanted to dive, he would have to rely on this set of diving equipment. Li Fan and the devil's incarnation flipped back at the same time and jumped into the water with Lu Xinan. Pewdie followed closely behind. As he jumped down, his body sank to the bottom of the water like a pincer. There was no light underwater and it was very dark. The 3 of them had underwater lamps on their heads, illuminating the surrounding space. It's very deep here. Li Fan asked through the communicator, where exactly? According to the sonar, it should be directly below you. Li Jiwen's voice came from the communicator. He was considered as these people's consultant. We'll be able to see it if we go down about 100 meters. Boss, I see it. The devil's incarnation's voice came from the communicator, it's here, it's here. The devil's incarnation illuminated a huge ship below him. This huge ship vaguely looked like it was from the Ming dynasty. Chapter 721. Li Fan's eyes lit up. It was a huge dragon boat, at least 100 meters long. The boat was broken into 2 parts, one part on the underwater slope, and the other part sank deeper. Is the treasure in this boat? Li Fan was a little curious and followed Lu Xinan and the others into the shipwreck. The shipwreck was very large and seemed to have been visited by several salvage teams. Except for some bones and wreckage, there were no other treasures. It seems that someone else has been here. All the valuable things are gone. The devil incarnate used a machine to pry open a few boxes and found that they were empty. He couldn't help but say, if it's the great Ming dynasty's dragon cave treasure, it should not be as simple as this boat. Lu Xinan has studied a lot of information about the Ming dynasty's treasure. There should be a very hidden dragon cave here, hidden somewhere. Yes. Li Fan sat on a rusty chair and crossed his legs. I guess this entire dragon boat is used to block the entrance to the dragon cave. That makes sense. Lu Xinan said through the communicator, Li Jiwen, use the equipment on the boat to fish up this Ming dynasty dragon boat. Ah, Director Liu, I can't do it. Can't do it. Didn't you say that all shipwrecks can be fished up? That's a small shipwreck. I scanned this dragon boat with sonar. It's at least 100 meters long. Even half of it can't be fished up. Are you just bragging? Lu Xinan couldn't help but curse. How could it be, Director Liu, we can really pull up a small shipwreck. Forget it, I'll deal with you when we get back. Because of the diving goggles, Li Fan couldn't see Lu Xinan's expression, but she must be rolling her eyes. Leave it to this poor monk. Pewdie suddenly swam toward the water, then turned his body and quickly fell to the bottom like a torpedo. Pewdie's figure penetrated the shipwreck that was already like a boulder, smashing a deep pit in the shipwreck. The deep pit led to an unknown place, as if it had opened up a whole new world. As expected, Li Fan floated underwater and looked at the deep pit below. This dragon boat was very sturdy, especially after so many years, it seemed to have become one with the seabed. The seabed here is very shallow. One look and you can tell that it's a completely different world. Lu Xinan believed in her own judgment. After the hole was opened, the surrounding seawater also rushed into it. But after a while, the surging water stopped, as if it was blocked by something. There's something strange about this cave. Should we go down? Li Fan could see that there was something mysterious about this cave and couldn't help but ask. Of course, the treasures of the Ming dynasty are right below. Lu Xinan didn't want to give up just like that. This penniless monk will head down to take a look. With that said, the monk instantly burrowed into the hole below. Fake monk? The devil incarnate shouted twice, but no one answered. Don't be anxious. Let's wait and see. Li Fan believed in Subhoodie. The monk's body was like a diamond, indestructible. Ordinary injuries were basically ineffective against him. I hope he's fine, the devil incarnate had an ominous feeling. After a long time, Subhoodie's voice sounded from the communicator. It's fine down there. Come down. After Subhoodie said that, the few of them exchanged looks and swam into the hole one after another. The hole was very deep, and it was unknown where it led to. Li Fan and Lu Xinan felt like they swam for a long time. After a full 20 minutes, they finally reached the bottom of the hole. There was a lot of water in the hole, but at the deepest part, it fell onto a patch of sand. The few of them stepped on the sand, and it immediately flowed, sucking Li Fan and company in. Pooh! 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 It was as if he had been spat out. Li Fan landed at the bottom of the underwater cave with sand all over him. Lu Xinan also fell from above, and Li Fan caught her. The devil incarnate fell to the ground on his buttocks, gritting his teeth in pain. Subhoodie stood beside him with a solemn expression. Ba. This place makes me uncomfortable. Subhoodie stared at the surrounding area. One golden dragon after another had been carved into the walls. Not only that, at the front of the cave, there were 3 huge statues. They were the patriarchs of the 3 pure ones. During the Ming dynasty, most of the emperors believed in Taoism. Therefore, it was not surprising that there were images of the 3 pure ones in the royal tomb of the Ming dynasty. But to Subhoodie, who believed in Buddhism, it was indeed uncomfortable. And in the middle of the tomb stood hundreds of soldiers. It was unknown what materials were used to carve these soldiers, but they were extremely lifelike. The positions of these soldiers vaguely resembled a strange formation. They seemed to be protecting something, guarding something. Behind these soldiers was a huge coffin. There were 9 dragons carved on the coffin, symbolizing the noble status of the person in the coffin. Which generation's emperor is this? Li Fan could not help but ask. It should be Emperor Chongzhen. Lu Xinan speculated. Didn't Emperor Chongzhen hang himself on Mount Jing? Who knows what happened in history? Lu Xinan shrugged. If the one lying here is not Chongzhen, it should be his descendant. As she spoke, her eyes were looking at a treasure mountain in the distance. The treasure mountain was filled with gold, silver, pearls, and jade. There were simply too many to count. It was obvious that these were treasures left behind by the Ming dynasty. And in front of the treasures stood two generals in golden armor. Both of them looked extraordinary, as if they were alive. Beautiful. Lu Xinnan's eyes could not help but shine. This was the reason why she came. So much money. The devil incarnate could no longer hold it in. He directly walked towards the pile of treasures. Just as he took 2 steps, he stepped on some kind of mechanism. With a click, the trap door on the wall opened, and rows of arrows shot out. Subhuti hurriedly stepped forward, clasped his hands together, and chanted the name of Buddha, blocking in front of the devil incarnate. Ding ding dang dang. These arrows hit Subhuti's body, but only created red sparks. They did not cause any damage. Subhuti's indestructible body could not be damaged by a single arrow. Some arrows also fell towards Lu Xinnan, but were slapped away by Li Fan. Is it just a simple trap? The devil incarnate was a little suspicious. This is too unworthy of the name of the Ming dynasty. Fuck, can you stop jinxing for a moment? Li Fan glared at the devil's incarnation, and at that moment, there was another change in the cemetery. The two generals who were standing in front of the treasure suddenly opened their eyes. Chapter 722. What the hell? Li Fan was shocked. Dead people came back to life. The devil's incarnation almost peed his pants. Fuck. Fuck. What's going on? Without hesitation, he raised his M4A1 and started shooting at the two revived generals in front of him. A series of bullets flew towards them. However, the two generals pulled out their swords and waved them around, cutting the bullets in half. Fuck. That's impossible. The devil's incarnation was shocked. He could not believe his eyes. What's going on? How did they come back to life? This was the first time Li Fan had seen such a strange situation. He could not believe it at all. Corpse stitching technique. Pewdie's eyesight was still good in the dark. With his reminder, Li Fan also noticed that the two generals had several silver threads on their bodies. The threads were connected to a stone plate in the distance. There was water flowing on the stone plate. It seemed to be acting as a driving force to control the two generals to attack. Fuck me. They actually used the corpse stitching technique as a formation stone plate. Li Fan was stunned. The wisdom of the ancients was a bit too heaven-defying. The two generals put down their swords and took 2 crescent blades from the weapons rack beside them. Then, they jumped over and slashed at the head of Pewdie, who was closest to them. Pewdie did not move. He put his palms together and allowed the 2 blades to slash at his body. Clang! Clang! 2 sounds rang out. Pewdie was unharmed, but the 2 crescent blades were knocked back. With Pewdie here, it's indeed reliable. Just as Li Fan finished speaking, Pewdie's body trembled and he was smashed into the ground. Fuck me, what kind of true chi is this? Li Fan looked at the 2 generals again. Their faces were pale and they were moving mechanically. He did not know what kind of material they used to coat their bodies, but it made their bodies indestructible. There was even true chi flowing within them. It was unknown how many years they had cultivated. The true chi in their bodies had reached a certain level of strength. Umitba, Pewdie spat out a mouthful of blood. They have at least, more than 300 years of inner force. Fuck, Li Fan wanted to curse. More than 300 years of internal energy, 2 old monsters. Fortunately, they were only 2 guys who were being manipulated. If they were 2 genuine inner force experts, they would have killed Bodhi long ago. 2 stupid dumplings, go to hell. Facing them, the devil incarnate squatted on the ground with an RPG on his shoulder and fired. The cannonball flew over, but it was cut into 4 pieces by the 2 generals with their crescent blades, 1 above, 1 below, 1 left and 1 right. The flames exploded, but the power of the explosion did not appear. There was only a little flame, and then it disappeared. Fuck, the devil incarnate was about to cry, these 2 guys are too heaven-defying. This is a matter that belongs to the world of martial artists. Just watch from the side. Li Fan took off his diving gear, then took 2 steps forward. Subhoodie, let me help you. Ba. These 2 ideas are too troublesome. He was clearly a monk, but his mouth was full of slang. Benefactorly, this penniless monk will help you support. With that said, Li Fan had already jumped in front of the 2 generals. The 2 generals had already brandished their crescent blades, bringing with them a gust of wind as they slashed at Li Fan. Come at me. Li Fan knew that these 2 had superb inner force, so he did not dare to fight them head-on. Hence, he used the ape steps and somersaulted, jumping behind the 2 generals. A general with over 300 years of internal force was enough to give him a headache, let alone 2. Li Fan stretched out his hand and placed his palms on the backs of the 2 generals. Bang! Bang! The 2 generals staggered a step forward, but their true chi was too high. With their true chi automatically protecting their bodies, even if they were hit by Li Fan's palm, it did not hurt them. It's already 70% of your strength, but it's still useless. Li Fan clicked his tongue in wonder. These 2 people's inner force was really not for show. Subhoodie, help me hold one back. Li Fan instructed Subhoodie. Got it. Subhoodie pulled out his body from the ground like he was pulling a carrot. He walked forward and saw a general brandishing his crescent blade. Subhoodie leaned to the side and dodged the general's crescent blade. At the same time, he used the iron head technique and slammed his head into the general's head. Bang! Subhoodie felt a little dizzy, while the general was forced to take a step back. Subhoodie took the opportunity to hold back the general. On the other side, Li Fan was thinking of a way to hold back the second general. The other party's combat strength was off the charts, but Li Fan did not dare to fight him head-on. He kept moving left and right, entangling the fellow from the side. The general swung his crescent blade at Li Fan's neck. As for Li Fan, his body flashed and he dodged the general's crescent blade. At the same time, he grabbed the general's wrist and activated Dragontoad's absorption of water. The general's body suddenly trembled. The huge amount of energy left in his body was instantly extracted by Li Fan and flowed into his own body. No matter how powerful this general was, he did not have any thoughts. They were simply 2 huge human-shaped supply bags. The other general seemed to sense the danger of his comrade. As the stone plate rotated, he also ran over and slashed down with his blade. Li Fan stretched out his other hand and used Dragontoad's absorption of water again. He grabbed the general's head and began to frantically absorb his energy. The 2 generals directly became Li Fan's great tonics. Under his control, the true chi in their bodies quickly flowed into Li Fan's body. As if sensing the impending danger, the 100 or so sleeping generals opened their eyes at the same time and looked at Li Fan. Fuck, these 100 brothers, are they all controlled by threads? Li Fan noticed that all of them were controlled by the corpse stitching art. He frowned deeply. It seemed that this was the true defense of the great Ming dynasty's treasure. This kind of defense could be called doomsday. More than 100 martial arts masters, all of whom had immortal bodies, attacked Li Fan at the same time. Even he might not be able to handle it. At the same time, Li Fan's Dragontoad's absorption of water had been exerted to the extreme. He quickly extracted the true chi of the 2 generals. But then, his Dragontoad's absorption of water went out of control. Li Fan's God-connecting meridian automatically switched. The power of the 7 heroes' force was withdrawn, and the star power was automatically activated. Li Fan's eyes were like the abyss of the universe. They were unfathomable and unfathomable. Fuck, Li Fan frowned deeply. The star power in his body was activated uncontrollably. Everything, like the center of the universe, began to rotate. The world had changed. The true chi of the surrounding generals seemed to be attracted by this power and flowed quickly into Li Fan's body. Not only them, but even the devils incarnate and Lu Xinnan's life force were forcibly pulled out. Oh no! Bodhi felt that something was wrong. He immediately stretched out his hands to protect the 2 of them. Chapter 723. With the protection of Bodhi's invincible Vajra divine art, Lu Xinan and the demon incarnate were able to survive a little better. However, the others were not so lucky, even though they were already dead. The true qi of all the soldiers present was continuously extracted by Li Fan, slowly forming the shape of a vortex in the air. Star Luo Reversal. The vortex formed by true qi was like a huge vortex, floating above his head. Li Fan could no longer control his own cultivation technique. The Star Luo Supreme Art seemed to have automatically lit up, constantly circulating, extracting true qi from the soldiers' bodies, and sending it into the vortex above his head. The vortex spun faster and faster, and the feeling of the universe also became more and more intense. Even Subhuti felt a hint of terrifying pressure from this pressure. He circulated the invincible golden body cultivation technique to the maximum, and his entire body emitted a golden light. This golden light condensed into a 3-meter-tall golden Buddha, firmly protecting them. Bang, bang, bang. The golden Buddha unceasingly erupted with light. The external force was like a virus, constantly eroding this invincible golden body. However, Bodhi tightly closed his eyes, chanting the golden Buddha chant, bleeding from his 7 apertures, still bitterly persisting. At this moment, the 9 golden dragons on the coffin that had been sealed all along seemed to come to life, and began to swim. The 9 golden dragons were like 9 locks, quickly moving away from the coffin, swimming into the wall behind, and turning into a 9-dragon wall. And under the shocked gazes of Li Fan and the others, the coffin was actually slowly pushed open. A withered hand, as thin as a stick, slowly stretched out from the coffin. Li Fan and the others only felt their hairs stand on end. It was the corpse sewing technique again. A woman as thin as a match, with long hair draped over her shoulders, slowly sat up from the coffin. Seemingly intentionally or unintentionally, the woman glanced at Li Fan and the others. Her pair of eyes were 2 empty holes, like a black hole. That one glance caused all the hair on Li Fan's body to stand on end. This woman is still alive. The mummified woman with loose black hair suddenly took a deep breath. The vortex above her head seemed to be attracted, and immediately converged into the woman's mouth. The whirlpool was getting smaller and smaller, but the woman's skin was getting better and better. It was as if she was rapidly healing and growing again. Very quickly, the woman returned to her original appearance. It was a woman as beautiful as a flower, as if she was a beauty from an ancient painting. Her eyes were filled with love, and her skin was as white as snow. The fiends incarnate and Subhuti couldn't help but stare in a daze. Not only them, even Li Fan couldn't help but stare blankly. This woman was too beautiful. She was so beautiful that she didn't look like a human. Such a woman was simply a fairy that had descended to the mortal world. If I can have one round with her, it would be worth it even if I die. The devil's incarnation muttered to himself. Even if I go to hell, I'm willing. Subhuti mumbled to himself. Hey, you two. Lu Xinan reached out and patted their heads. Li Fan was a little better. What kind of person was this monster-like woman? What a good sleep, the woman stretched lazily. She was wearing a long white gauze. It was unknown what material it was made of. After hundreds of years, it still hadn't decayed in the slightest. This woman's every frown and smile attracted people's attention, making people unwilling to move their eyes away. Under her beautiful halo, all men seemed to be insignificant. They wished they could turn into flies and fly around this woman every day. Li Fan was slightly better. After all, he had seen many beautiful women, so his immunity was a little higher. Which dynasty is it now? The woman slowly stood up from the coffin. Her beautiful bare feet stepped on the wet ground. Is it still my great Ming dynasty? The woman looked at the clothes on Li Fan and the others. She seemed a little strange and tilted her head slightly. Looking at your clothes, it's a little strange. Is it a night suit? But the material is a little different. The woman's speech was a little ancient, but it wasn't too rigid in classical Chinese. In ancient times, not everyone could speak classical Chinese. Only some cultured aristocratic families like to use classical Chinese to converse. As for the people in the marketplace, they mainly spoke in the vernacular. That woman might not be from an aristocratic family, but she was lying in the coffin of the imperial family. Who are you? Li Fan opened his mouth and asked. This consort is a first-rank noble concubine, Imperial Concubine Zhou. Imperial Concubine Zhou? Lu Xinan frowned. I've only heard of Empress Zhou. I've never heard of any Imperial Concubine Zhou. Empress Zhou? The beautiful woman pondered for a moment. Could it be that you're talking about my elder sister? This woman's words were getting more and more unimaginable. Lu Xinan only felt that it was hard to believe. A woman who had lived for hundreds of years, how could it be possible? It's time for you to answer this consort's question. This imperial concubine Zhou suddenly asked, this consort. How long have I slept? Which dynasty is it now? If you're really imperial concubine Zhou, you've lived for at least 300 years. Li Fan thought of the Vairocana Heart Sutra, an evil martial art that could prolong a person's life. The star Luo reversal that he had just displayed was a passive one. This woman actually absorbed the true qi of all the officers and soldiers, which allowed her to come back to life. In that case, she must have some kind of relationship with the undying evil Buddha. I actually slept for so long. Imperial concubine Zhou gently covered her mouth, somewhat surprised. So long. Rinjia has already become an old woman. What's the relationship between you and the undying evil Buddha? Li Fan immediately asked. Undying evil Buddha. Imperial concubine Zhou chuckled. I seem to remember, this consort does have such a strange nickname. You're the undying evil Buddha. Li Fan's eyes widened. At this time, the great array of the underwater tomb once again revolved. The corpse stitching technique was activated. More than 100 officers and soldiers picked up their respective weapons and once again went into battle. Sorry, this consort is still talking to a guest. Can you not disturb us? Imperial concubine Zhou said. However, more than 100 officers and soldiers did not have their own thoughts. Under the control of the great array, they rushed towards Li Fan and the others. Truly presumptuous. Imperial concubine Zhou seemed to be somewhat angry. She blew at the more than 100 officers and soldiers in front of her. All the officers and soldiers suddenly stiffened and then turned into dust, scattering on the ground. Li Fan was startled. Holy shit, blowing into the wind, this move is too awesome. Imperial concubine Zhou did have some skill. Was she really the legendary, undying evil Buddha? This consort's subordinates do not understand etiquette. I'm really sorry. Imperial concubine Zhou gently sat on her coffin, as if this coffin was her throne. Come, now we can have a good chat. Chapter 724. Imperial concubine Zhou was sitting on top of the coffin. With her Jinqi protecting her body, she didn't feel cold. Although she was elegant, she was also a little mischievous. Her legs swayed gently as she looked at Li Fan and the others. Let's have a good chat. I slept for a long time, and no one talked to me for a long time. Imperial concubine Zhou seemed to be bored. It's rare for a few people to come in. Come and have a chat. Imperial concubine Zhou looked at Li Fan and the others. Just now, who used the Vairocana Heart Sutra to wake me up? Imperial concubine Zhou gently propped her chin with her hand and asked. Other than you, who else here knows the Vairocana Sutra? Li Fan curled his lips. The reason why the young master came down to this graveyard is to find that Vairocana Heart Sutra. If I had known that this would be a losing deal, young master wouldn't have come. You can't say that. The fact that you were able to come here and wake me up means that we are fated. Imperial concubine Zhou had a smile on her face. This is fate. This is fate. He really likes to play with mysteries. No wonder people call him the undying evil Buddha. Li Fan looked up and down at Imperial concubine Zhou. Then tell me, why are you lying here? Li Fan was still very curious about the origin of Imperial concubine Zhou. This was because he never believed that there would be such a person who could truly live forever. Lu Shinan and the others didn't say anything. They were also very curious and wanted to know the truth. Although what imperial concubine Zhou said might not be the truth, at least there was a direction for her judgment. This empress? Imperial concubine Zhou seemed to be looking into the distance, recalling something. It's indeed too long ago. When I first met Zhu Yujian, I was only 12 years old. Unlike my elder sister, I have been practicing martial arts with my master since I was young, so I have the aura of the pugilistic world around me. I didn't expect that when elder sister married into the palace, she would actually bring me along with her. Imperial concubine Zhou seemed a bit unhappy, but I don't like Zhu Yujian. Although he has ambition, it's a pity that he's too weak and I don't like him at all. The only person this empress loves is master alone. Your master? Is he very powerful? Of course, this palace's master was the #1 martial artist in the past, Shaolin Temple's great master Kong Zhen. Hold on, Li Fan was taken aback. What did you just say? Your master is a monk. How dare you? My master is a grandmaster. He is handsome and elegant, the true #1 in the world. Looking at imperial concubine Zhou's infatuated appearance, Li Fan felt a chill in his heart. This kind of infatuated woman was the most terrifying. Master, you should also love me, right? As imperial concubine Zhou spoke, she turned her head and glanced at the skeleton of a monk at the side. The skeleton was like a golden body. It sat there cross-legged and wore a golden kasaya. It was vivid and lifelike. Master Kong Zhen, upon seeing that golden body, Subhuti knelt to the ground, his palms pressed together, tears streaming down his face. Master Kong Zhen was one of the masters of Shaolin Temple. The invincible golden body was also completely broken when it came to him. Until a few hundred years later, Subhuti appeared out of nowhere and once again comprehended the invincible golden body from the records in the Sutra Depository Pavilion. Speaking of which, this little monk also knows a little bit of the invincible golden body. Imperial concubine Zhou looked at Subhuti. It seems like you are my master's disciple. Speaking of which, there is a connection. As soon as her voice fell, Imperial concubine Zhou's figure suddenly crossed the distance of dozens of meters and appeared in front of Subhuti. Subhuti froze for a moment, but Imperial concubine Zhou reached out her hand and gently touched Subhuti's chin. Little monk, when I look closer, you are quite handsome. This little monk, is willing to go to the 18 layers of hell for you. Subhuti was completely infatuated. The Buddhist martial arts that he practiced seemed to have disappeared at this moment. In his eyes, there was only one person left, and that was Imperial concubine Zhou. What do you want to do? Li Fan frowned. As if he was facing a great enemy, he stared at Imperial concubine Zhou. Don't worry, I just want to admire him. Unknowingly, Imperial concubine Zhou had returned to the coffin and sat on it. Li Fan turned his head and looked at this Imperial concubine Zhou in surprise. This beautiful displacement Qinggong was simply too powerful. A female monster who had lived for more than 300 years. Moreover, her body had absorbed the true qi of so many soldiers. It could be said that her skill was very strong. Li Fan looked at her, but he didn't have the feeling that he could win. I married into the palace when I was 14 years old. Zhu Yujian valued the Tao and destroyed Buddhism. He even secretly sent the genie guards to attack the Shaolin Temple. Imperial concubine Zhou seemed to be somewhat angry. This bastard emperor, does he really think that he has the final say in this world? Humph. In order to destroy his empire, I personally massacred the experts of Jianghu, leaving the central plains with almost no one to use. The Jurchen people had been dormant for many years, and their experts came forth in large numbers. They directly defeated the central plains. Imperial concubine Zhou said happily, seeing Zhu Yujian hang himself in front of me, I'm really happy. This dog emperor is finally dead. If you really hate him so much, why didn't you kill him with your own hands? Li Fan had always had this doubt in his heart, so he immediately asked. Because my master was kind-hearted. Although the dog emperor betrayed him, he still secretly protected this dog emperor. Imperial concubine Zhou angrily said, "He failed to live up to my master's kindness." Li Fan felt that this matter was a bit too complicated. It was clearly a mess of Qiang Yao dramas. In the end, my master still brought all the experts of Jianghu to me. In a one-on-one fight, even the world's #1 master was not my opponent. Even if these guys joined hands, they would only be able to tie with me. If it wasn't because I felt sorry for my master and didn't want him to get hurt, how could these people possibly seal me? With that, Imperial concubine Zhou's figure appeared on the right side of the tomb. There were some martial arts experts' corpses sitting cross-legged on this side. Imperial concubine Zhou waved her hand, and those corpses were all scattered and turned into powder. Only her master's golden body was still intact. This ability to control true qi was not something that an ordinary person could compare with. This woman was almost a spirit. "Well, I had a pleasant chat with you." After Imperial concubine Zhou finished her crazy talk, no one knew when she returned to the coffin. She gently sat there and smiled like a flower. "It's about time to absorb you too." Imperial concubine Zhou licked her lips. "It seems like the two of you have a lot of true qi. The vitality of the other two people is also worth absorbing." "Wait a minute." Li Fan had something to ask. "You can extract true qi, but why can you also extract vitality?" "This official, do you understand what true qi is?" Imperial concubine Zhou seemed to be very patient. She opened her mouth and asked. Chapter 725. Can you understand what true qi is? Imperial concubine Zhou asked Li Fan. Li Fan was very familiar with these things. True qi is the breath that a person cultivates. Li Fan placed his hand on his dantian. When a person is born, they have a breath of true qi. However, some people do not cultivate. Basically, after 7 or 8 years, this breath will dissipate. But people who cultivate true qi can keep this breath. Later on, they can slowly cultivate, making their true qi stronger and stronger. Your understanding of true qi is only half-baked, that's all. Imperial concubine Zhou ridiculed Li Fan. True qi is actually the source of power that our body cultivates. She pointed to the position of her heart. It is also our life force. Remember, the human body has 5 elements. They are the lung metal, the heart fire, the liver wood, the kidney water, and the spleen earth. These 5 forces complement each other and form true qi, which swims in our meridians. Our life force is also like this. From birth, it is a breath of true qi that circulates in our body. When this breath of true qi is exhausted, a person's life will come to an end. Imperial concubine Zhou's point of view was very novel. Listening to it, Li Fan was surprised. True qi is a person's life force. Although this statement was very novel, it seemed to have some truth to it. Even if you can make your true qi not dissipate, how can you ensure that your body's organs will always be intact? Li Fan asked. A person's organs will always age. This is an unchangeable fact. Organs? Imperial concubine Zhou smiled. Do you know what turning void into reality is? Imperial concubine Zhou's words made Li Fan startled. So that's how it is. So that's how it is. The reason why Imperial concubine Zhou was able to live forever, the reason why she was able to stay young forever, was because she had the ability to turn void into reality. The dried corpse just now was indeed real. Imperial concubine Zhou was locked in this coffin for more than 300 years. She had indeed become a dried corpse. But because her breath of true qi was still hanging on to her life, she struggled at death's door and lived until now. If he did not appear, perhaps after a period of time, Imperial concubine Zhou's last breath of true qi would also dissipate. But he just had to appear, and he even used the star Luo reversal. Li Fan extracted the remaining qi from more than 100 people and sent it into Imperial concubine Zhou's body. Imperial concubine Zhou relied on turning illusions into reality and using the true qi. She once again created her own body. Every organ, even every blood vessel, had been perfectly created by her true qi. A true body that would not age. Undying evil Buddha. That was how it came about. Alright, I've said enough. It's time for you all to become my life force. Imperial concubine Zhou once again hung a smile on her face. I hope you remember this consort's name, Zhou Wanshu. As Imperial concubine Zhou spoke, she suddenly appeared in front of Subhuti and the others. She placed her palm on Subhuti's forehead, preparing to absorb the ki from Subhuti's body. Subhuti didn't even have the time to fight back, much less the will to fight back. At this time, Imperial concubine Zhou suddenly turned around and extended her other hand to block Li Fan's kick. Zi la la. A blue electric arc jumped out and wandered around Imperial concubine Zhou's body, causing her to feel numb for a second. She took a step back, pushed away Li Fan's leg, and looked at him seriously. You kid, you're a bit different. Imperial concubine Zhou said. Her figure flashed and directly appeared in front of Li Fan, almost sticking to Li Fan's face. You're quite interesting. As Imperial concubine Zhou said, she stretched out a finger and flicked it at Li Fan's forehead. Li Fan's body felt as if he had hit a train. He was immediately bounced out and heavily hit the wall behind the tomb, creating a huge pit in the wall. However, Li Fan abruptly pulled out his body and slowly fell to the ground. Imperial concubine Zhou once again appeared in front of Li Fan, and at the same time, her palm was about to hit Li Fan's forehead. This time, Imperial concubine Zhou used even more strength. However, Li Fan stretched out his hands and grabbed Imperial concubine Zhou's wrist. What? Imperial concubine Zhou was taken aback, a trace of surprise flashed through her beautiful eyes. I'm sorry, I'm not someone that you can do whatever you want. Li Fan raised his head, looked at Imperial concubine Zhou above, and laughed. Divine Dragon General, Lu Suo. Li Fan locked Imperial concubine Zhou's wrist, and then his knee kicked upwards, directly kicking Imperial concubine Zhou's cheek. Imperial concubine Zhou's face was directly twisted by the kick, and her body was instantly kicked out. She spun in the air, but the force on her body was removed, and she steadily fell to the ground. Interesting. Imperial concubine Zhou had just landed on the ground, and before she could finish her words, Li Fan had already caught up. At the same time, he used Dragon Hand to poke Imperial concubine Zhou's throat. Imperial concubine Zhou faced Li Fan and blew out a mouthful of true qi. As if a storm had swept over Li Fan's body, Li Fan instantly put on the golden armor, wrapping his body, blocking Imperial concubine Zhou's true qi storm. The objects around Li Fan were blown to pieces, and the ground was peeled off a layer. If not for the golden armor, Li Fan wouldn't be much better off. After more than 300 years, it's even more fun. Imperial concubine Zhou couldn't help but laugh. It seems that the world has become more interesting. This concubine is very happy, and I also want to obtain your strength. As she spoke, she licked her tongue, seemingly a little excited. I'm really happy. Imperial concubine Zhou once again appeared in front of Li Fan, and at the same time, her palm went to grab the top of Li Fan's head. However, Li Fan took advantage of the moment Imperial concubine Zhou made her move and directly punched out. Beating Tiger. Under the Divine Dragon General's power, Li Fan's strength almost doubled. 5 dragons and 7 dragons seemed to only have a difference of 2 dragons, but the gap between the realms couldn't be measured by pure strength. However, Imperial concubine Zhou's body was only pushed back a meter before she steadily fell to the ground. Interesting kung fu. Imperial concubine Zhou looked at Li Fan with interest. This concubine has never seen this kind of kung fu before. It's really interesting. Thank you for the compliment. Li Fan adjusted his breathing. He knew that the person in front of him was an unprecedentedly strong enemy, so he couldn't lower his guard. Therefore, Li Fan directly operated his strongest power. Divine Dragon General. His true qi circulated throughout his body, keeping him in his best condition. Li Fan's eyes turned golden red. True qi filled his eyes, allowing him to clearly see the strength of Imperial concubine Zhou's body. Too terrifying. What kind of enormous strength is this? Li Fan even mistakenly thought that this woman, imperial concubine Zhou, was entangled with a terrible devil king. This strength was really too terrifying. Female monster. Li Fan couldn't help but curse. You dare to insult this concubine. Imperial concubine Zhou clearly heard it and immediately became angry. You little insect, I'm too polite to you. Chapter 726. Imperial concubine Zhou flew into a rage out of humiliation. What she didn't want to be mentioned the most was her age. Imperial concubine Zhou's left hand became very sharp, like an eagle's claw. This imperial concubine Zhou had the power to turn illusions into reality. Her body was made up of true qi, so she could change the state of her body at will. Imperial concubine Zhou's claw could definitely break gold and jade. Let alone a human skull, even a piece of alloy would be crushed. Divine Dragon General. Li Fan's eyes emitted a golden light as he directly struck forward with his palm. Li Fan's palm collided with Imperial concubine Zhou's claw. The air seemed to distort for a moment. Subhoodie and the others felt their hearts tremble. It seemed like there was a terrifying power. The strength of these two people absolutely could not be underestimated. Especially that imperial concubine Zhou. She had lived for so many years. Not only was her true qi powerful, but her combat experience was also very rich. It was somewhat disadvantageous for Li Fan to confront her. However, Li Fan's strength lay in his strong ability to adapt to the battlefield. Imperial concubine Zhou's eagle's claw and Li Fan's palm collided. Their inner qi immediately impacted each other. At that moment, Li Fan felt as if he was being hit by a train. He endured the strong impact on his internal organs. At the same time, the true qi in his body began to reverse. Dragon Toad's absorption of water. Oh. Imperial concubine Zhou felt the loss of her true qi. She was slightly surprised and then smiled. It seems that it was indeed you who awakened this consort. This martial art of yours is very interesting. However, compared to this consort's Vairocana Heart Sutra, it's still too far off. After saying that, Imperial concubine Zhou also activated her own martial art. Her eagle's claw turned into an ordinary palm. Then, her entire body began to change. In the blink of an eye, she was like a bodhisattva. Standing there, her body carried endless Buddha's might. At the same time, a powerful suction force erupted from her palm. Vairocana Heart Sutra. This martial art was only suitable for people who could turn illusions into reality to practice. If one couldn't use true qi to refine their body, there was no way to learn this martial art. If a man learned it, he could turn himself into a Buddha. Women, on the other hand, could transform themselves into bodhisattva through cultivation. Subhoodie was, after all, a disciple of the Shaolin Buddhist school. When Subhoodie saw Imperial concubine Zhou unleash a supreme technique of the Buddhist school, he repeatedly kowtowed and began to chant sutras non-stop. Pooh! Li Fan spat out a mouthful of blood as his internal organs were drained of too much strength in an instant. The Jin Qi that he had absorbed from the two generals was suddenly sucked away by Imperial concubine Zhou. Almost at the same time, Li Fan's God-connecting meridian automatically cut over again. The Star Luo Supreme Art automatically activated. Star Luo Reversal. A powerful cyclone formed in Li Fan's body, and a frightening suction force erupted from his palm. Unexpectedly, a portion of Jin Qi was forcibly sucked out from Imperial concubine Zhou's body. Imperial concubine Zhou was almost scared to death. What kind of technique was this? Why was it so similar to his Vairocana Heart Sutra? Could it be that the other party had secretly learned his martial arts? Impossible. After his death, the Mahavairocana Heart Sutra should have been buried with him. It was obvious that this was the first time these people had come to the tomb. It was impossible for them to have learned his absolute art. What kind of martial arts was that? Could it be that it was comprehended by later generations? Impossible. In this world, apart from him, who else could comprehend this kind of divine art? Kid, who is your master? Imperial concubine Zhou was fighting against Li Fan's star Luo divine art, but at the same time, she was still able to summon her true qi and asked. Li Fan's eyes had already begun to turn red. After using the star Luo supreme art, his consciousness would become a little blurred. At this time, Li Fan only had one thought, and that was to defeat this imperial concubine Zhou in front of him. Both of their palms were like black holes. Although there was a difference in their martial arts, they were similar. They could both absorb Jin Qi from each other's body for their own use. Their Jin Qi clashed with each other, and the suction force also cancelled each other out. Their strength had reached a balance. Under the conflict of strength, the tomb chamber suffered a disaster. The surrounding ground continued to collapse, and the entire tomb chamber also shook. Gravel constantly fell. Not good. Lu Xinan looked up and frowned. If this continued, the tomb chamber would collapse. Li Fan. Be careful of the tomb chamber. It will be destroyed. Lu Xinan reminded Li Fan. Got it. Li Fan vaguely heard Lu Xinan's voice, but for a moment, he forgot what he promised Lu Xinan. His consciousness became more and more blurred. Li Fan's skin suddenly turned a little dark, and the star Luo supreme art in his body completely erupted. In an instant, Li Fan seemed to have changed into a different person. His skin had turned completely black, and he was also abnormally savage. The strength between the two of them reached a limit. Then, they clashed with each other and exploded. Boom! The two of them flew out at the same time. Imperial concubine Zhou's legs gently stepped on her coffin, stabilizing her body. Li Fan took 3 steps back, and each step left a footprint on the ground. Finally, with a shake of his arms, he stabilized his body. At the same time, the corner of Li Fan's mouth hung a mysterious smile. In Li Fan's visualization world, a huge figure suddenly appeared in the dark world. The power of the spirit connecting meridian directly poured into the 8th star, temporarily opening up Li Fan's 8th acupuncture point. That figure slowly condensed from the black fog. Impressively, it was a dark demon with a pair of blood-red eyes full of coldness and murderous intent. Huh! Imperial concubine Zhou looked at Li Fan in front of her, and she felt that Li Fan's appearance had changed a little. Why has his aura changed so much? Is he still the same person from before? Imperial concubine Zhou faced Li Fan and blew out a true energy storm. Li Fan, on the other hand, simply stood there and waved his hand to disperse the storm of true energy. Li Fan, who had opened the 8th acupuncture point, simultaneously entered the 8th level of the mental cultivation method. At this moment, Li Fan's 7 Heroes Force and Star Luo Supreme Art had merged together. 7 Demon King. That was the name of Li Fan's current state. But because it was overdrawn in advance, Li Fan had no way to control the state of the 7 Demon King. He could only let the demonic art counterattack his body. Interesting. Imperial concubine Zhou's mouth hung a smile. She was really lucky to meet such an interesting opponent as soon as she woke up. She turned into a bodhisattva statue and directly struck a palm at Li Fan. Vairocana palm. This palm seemed to carry an unstoppable force, imprinting on Li Fan. But Li Fan raised his hand and directly blocked this Vairocana palm with a Vajra move. He actually has such power. Imperial concubine Zhou felt that Li Fan's current strength was about 9 dragons. Just 1 dragon and he could enter the Grandmaster realm. And her own strength had long been a Grandmaster. But why, facing this kid, she felt a sense of powerlessness. Chapter 727. Li Fan stood there, motionless, as if everything around him had nothing to do with him. His body was flowing with a huge demonic aura, which made Imperial concubine Zhou's heart uneasy. This man. Why would he give me such pressure? What kind of martial arts does he practice? Why does he have such a terrible demonic aura? Li Fan slowly spat out a mouthful of foul air. Imperial concubine Zhou subconsciously took a step back. Unbelievable, Imperial concubine Zhou exclaimed, not daring to believe what she had done. She was actually afraid. You have indeed brought me a lot of fun, but it ends here. As Imperial Concubine Zhou said this, her hair flew up and her skirt swayed. Her powerful true energy gave her bodhisattva statue a sacred aura. Under this sacred aura, not only Subhuti, but even Lu Xinnan and the devil incarnate couldn't help but kneel down. Looking at Imperial Concubine Zhou, their hearts were filled with worship. This was the undying evil Buddha who shook the Jianghu in the past, and even almost destroyed the entire Jianghu. Too fucking beautiful, the devil incarnate's eyes were infatuated. His mind was now full of Imperial Concubine Zhou. However, at this time, Li Fan didn't care about anyone else. His mouth only issued a dull breathing sound, and his whole body carried an inviolable aura. I want to know, with your 9 dragons' power, how can you go against me? Imperial Concubine Zhou's strength was already at the peak of a generation's great master. However, in the deep sleep of history, she lost a large part of her true energy. Although she had absorbed a lot just now, most of it was used to restore her body. Imperial Concubine Zhou's true strength had not been fully restored. Once this woman who once stood at the peak of the Jianghu recovered her full strength, how could she be afraid of a little Li Fan? But this did not damage her pride. Imperial Concubine Zhou still believed that she was stronger than Li Fan. For me, offer everything you have. With that, Imperial Concubine Zhou's body instantly appeared in front of Li Fan, and her palm struck towards Li Fan. Li Fan returned with a punch, meeting Imperial Concubine Zhou's palm. Bang! Their energies clashed violently against each other, causing both of their bodies to come to a halt. Waves of energy blasted out in all directions, knocking Subhuti and the others flying far away. On the other hand, Li Fan and Imperial Concubine Zhou were safe and sound. Their fists and palms collided, and their chis were clashing intensely. When the two of them collided, the ability of their mental cultivation method was also constantly absorbing each other's true chi. Thus, the two of them absorbed each other's energy and became equal. Bang, bang, bang. In the blink of an eye, Imperial Concubine Zhou had already sent out more than 10 palms. However, Li Fan also threw more than 10 punches, hitting Imperial Concubine Zhou's palm back. Thousand-hand Guanyin. Imperial Concubine Zhou scolded. She turned from virtual to real, and a huge golden bodhisattva appeared behind her. It was more than 10 meters tall. She spread her hands, and in the blink of an eye, thousands of hands popped out. Then, all of them attacked Li Fan together. However, Li Fan was unperturbed. He didn't know how to turn virtual into real, but he had the ability to change bones. Li Fan's body suddenly expanded, and he opened his diving suit, turning into a 2-meter-tall giant. The black energy wrapped around his body and melted into his muscles. Even without the golden armor, it formed a powerful defensive power. These 1,000 palms directly bombarded his body, but Li Fan was unexpectedly unmoved. Instead, he relied on the Star Luo divine art to transfer the power of Imperial Concubine Zhou's attack to his own palm. Li Fan simply sent a palm towards Imperial Concubine Zhou. Bang! Imperial Concubine Zhou's bodhisattva image was directly broken. She flew out and fell to the ground. She stepped on the ground and stabilized her body. Imperial Concubine Zhou was speechless. Li Fan's power really shocked her. Her Vairocana Heart Sutra was the strongest in the world. How could there be someone who was more powerful than her? Looking at the still motionless Li Fan standing there, Imperial Concubine Zhou unexpectedly wanted to retreat. Imperial Concubine Zhou was not stupid. Her strength has not yet fully recovered, and Li Fan's momentum is strong. If she fought with this Li Fan, she would be at a disadvantage. A large part of her true chi was used to maintain her body and beauty. It was better to wait until she recovered and became stronger, than settle the account with this man. Imperial Concubine Zhou glanced at Li Fan and then said, "This life of yours, for the time being, is in your hands." Imperial Concubine Zhou said. She looked up and then waved her hand. The gold and silver treasures were swept into the coffin by her. Imperial concubine Zhou dragged the coffin that was as heavy as a small mountain and jumped up. She passed through the sand above her head and jumped out of the water. My treasures, Lu Xinan felt a little heartache, but the devil incarnate woke up first and comforted her. Isn't there a pile of gold bricks here? What are you afraid of? In the entire tomb, there were countless treasures. In addition to the ones that Imperial concubine Zhou took away, there was also a large pile of pure gold bricks. These were too heavy. It was probably inconvenient for Imperial concubine Zhou to carry them. Ba, this poor monk just forgot himself. Subhuti also slowly woke up. Just now, Imperial concubine Zhou's charm was too great. Even his Buddha's heart was lost. You perverted monk, when you see a woman, you never forget yourself. The devil incarnate ruthlessly ridiculed. Subhuti closed his mouth and did not say a word, allowing the devil incarnate to scold him. Boss, what should we do? The devil incarnate did not want to talk about Subhuti anymore. His heart was tired. He looked at Li Fan who was standing there and began to care about his boss. Don't disturb him. Subhuti quickly said, he is now in a devil incarnate state. Don't provoke him. Pray that he will not put his attention on us. At this moment, Li Fan was like a zombie. He just stood there, motionless and breathing heavily. Although he did not move, Subhuti and the others all understood how dangerous Li Fan was right now. Just now, Imperial concubine Zhou was beaten away by him, let alone them. At this moment, Li Fan was quiet, like a statue. Lu Xinan was somewhat curious. She could not help but ask. If I go over to take a look, will I die miserably? You will be blasted into minced meat. Subhuti reminded Lu Xinan, even this poor monk does not dare to provoke this malefic star. Alright, Lu Xinan was also tired. Through the communicator, she inquired about the situation on the boat. Fortunately, when Imperial concubine Zhou left, she did not discover their fishing boat. If Imperial concubine Zhou found out, perhaps the fishing boat would be requisitioned. The three of them waited for Li Fan to recover. Since Li Fan did not move, they also did not dare to move. I say, the devil incarnate was a bit impatient. Just as he spoke, Li Fan suddenly moved and glanced at them. This glance caused their hair to stand on end. Chapter 728. Subhuti immediately covered the mouth of the devil's incarnate. Right now, Li Fan was at his most sensitive moment. It was fine for them to talk before, but if they spoke now, Li Fan would notice. In order not to attract Li Fan's attention, Subhuti did not even dare to use telepathy. He only used his eyes to remind the other two not to make any sound. Lu Xinan was very straightforward and even turned off her communication device. Right now was a very critical period. As long as they could get through this, everything would be fine. The three of them did not know how long they would have to wait. In any case, there was oxygen in this tomb, so they might as well wait patiently. In the entire tomb, only the sound of Li Fan's heavy breathing could be heard. He was like a real zombie, and no one dared to disturb him. Subhuti did a rough calculation. This demonic technique of Li Fan could not be used for a long time. When the energy was almost exhausted, it should be over. Li Fan's skin was slowly returning to normal. It seemed that he was showing signs of waking up. Subhuti was secretly delighted. Finally, they could safely get through this disaster. But at this moment, the devil's incarnate let out a long and loud fart, and it even made 3 turns. The devil's incarnate looked embarrassed. Sorry, brothers. Maybe I ate too much soybeans last night. Subhuti and Lu Xinan were speechless. Then, Li Fan's figure suddenly appeared in front of them. At the same time, Li Fan's palm came down towards them. A huge pressure fell on them, making it hard for them to breathe. Subhuti put his palms together and used his head to take on Li Fan's palm. Dang! As if he had hit a golden bell, Subhuti spat out a mouthful of blood. The invincible Vajra body had also lost its effect. Subhuti knelt on the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. Clearly, he was not going to make it. And Li Fan raised his palm again, ready to crush everyone with the wind generated from his palm. But at this moment, a golden light flashed on Li Fan's body. Liu Muronging automatically appeared, raising her shield with both hands and blocking Li Fan's palm. Clang! There was another loud thud. Muronging took 3 steps back. Li Fan also took a step back at the same time. The black skin on his body darkened. Murong-ying's lion face shield shattered. She probably couldn't take another hit from Li Fan. Because of the Star Luo Supreme technique, Li Fan still had some of Imperial Concubine Zhou's power left in his body. Therefore, in that palm strike just now, he had unleashed the strength of 10 dragons, the strength of a generation's grandmaster. Therefore, this palm strike shattered Murong-ying's shield. Li Fan's cultivation was so powerful. However, after this palm strike, the power of the 7 demon kings on Li Fan's body completely dissipated. His eyes regained their clarity, and he looked at the 3 trembling people in front of him, as well as Murong-ying, whose body was slowly disappearing. What's going on? You really don't remember? Lu Xinan looked at Li Fan, her eyes were filled with shock. He actually forgot all about it. I only remember, my power clashed with Imperial Concubine Zhou's. Yes, at that time, I used the dragon toad's ingestion of water. Then I seemed to have fainted. Li Fan really didn't remember anything about transforming into the 7 demon kings. Don't tell me, that kind of thing happened again. Li Fan suddenly understood that he was possessed again. His strength improved too quickly, and it would lead to the birth of the inner demon. Not only did it deprive him of control of his body, it also robbed him of his thoughts. Scary, it was really too scary. Li Fan hated this kind of feeling, especially the feeling of his thoughts being robbed. If this happened, would he still be himself? In any case, you have already recovered. Pack your things and prepare to leave. Lu Xinan also heaved a sigh of relief. As long as Li Fan wasn't in that state just now, it was fine. The previous Li Fan was really too scary. Okay. Li Fan still couldn't put it down. He asked while putting the gold bars into the bag he brought. Where is Imperial Concubine Zhou? She ran away. Subhuti understood and said, she probably hasn't fully recovered her strength, so she fought with you and found that she was at a disadvantage, so she ran away first. Li Fan frowned, it seems that this woman is quite smart. No wonder she has harmed the martial arts world for so many years. When her strength recovers, I'm afraid she will come looking for trouble again. She fought with you, and her strength has been damaged again. I reckon she is no match for those martial arts world experts. Subhuti analyzed, according to this poor monk's opinion, she may go to the deep mountains and old forests to recuperate for a period of time. After recovering some strength, she will come out again. I also have to prepare in advance. Li Fan's heart sank. If it were others, it would be better. But this Imperial Concubine Zhou was probably a terrible enemy. With her strength, not only could she kill people, she could even suck people dry. He didn't want to end up like those tomb protectors, turning into ashes. If you can truly reach the strength of the 7 demon kings, maybe you can fight with Imperial Concubine Zhou. Subhuti carefully looked at Li Fan. Benefactorly, this poor monk knows that you have just broken through to the 7th layer, Dragon Warrior. But a mere Dragon Warrior is not enough to fight with Imperial Concubine Zhou. Yes, Li Fan sighed, but the limit of a Dragon Warrior is to reach the level of a Grandmaster. I still need to properly train. As long as I reach the level of a Grandmaster, I will be able to fight with Imperial Concubine Zhou. That terrible woman. I hope I won't meet her again. Lu Xinan thought of that woman, and her heartbeat couldn't help but speed up. She is a bit scary. Li Fan's mind also recalled the scene of Imperial Concubine Zhou waking up. A female monster that has lived for hundreds of years. She really gave people a headache. Li Fan shuddered, but the eyes of the devil incarnate and Subhuti showed infatuation. Ah, the beautiful imperial concubine Zhou. I really want to spend the night with her. You too, quickly wake up. Li Fan gave the two of them a flick on the head, causing them to grimace in pain. They silently put the gold bricks into the bag. Although these gold bricks were good, it was just a drop in the bucket for Lu Xinnan's financial resources. What was important were the few luminous pearls placed on the table next to them. These luminous pearls were of extraordinary value, and each one was worth tens of millions. However, the more valuable items were taken away by imperial concubine Zhou. That woman was very shrewd. She understood the truth that no matter which dynasty or generation, money was indispensable. I've earned about 300 million from today's treasures. Although it's not much, at least we didn't come here in vain. Lu Xinnan rejoiced while Li Fan rolled his eyes. Was 300 million little? How many people couldn't earn that much in several lifetimes? For Lu Xinnan, it seemed to be just a small amount of money. However, he was now running a huge special abilities bureau, and his daily consumption was indeed not small. He could understand Lu Xinnan's pain. Chapter 729. Lu Xinnan's last hope was on those luminous pearls. There were a total of 9 pearls. 9 dragon heads were carved on the platform, and each dragon head held a valuable luminous pearl in its mouth. The cheapest one was worth tens of millions, and the most expensive one was worth hundreds of millions. Imperial concubine Zhou left in a hurry. Although she took most of the treasures with her, she left behind these 9 pearls. 9 dragon pearls. Lu Xinnan had always been familiar with antiques. She looked at the 9 luminous pearls in the tomb and said with a little fanaticism. These 9 luminous pearls were presented to the great Ming dynasty by 9 countries during Zheng He's voyage to the Western Ocean. These 9 pearls are priceless. Especially when all 9 of them are together, they are worth more than 1 billion. Unfortunately, I'm a little reluctant to sell them. Lu Xinnan slowly walked over and took out a magnifying glass. With the help of the luminous pearls, she observed the 9 pearls. The light of the entire tomb came from these 9 pearls. When the Manchurian Qing invaded the pass, Emperor Xuanji searched the entire world for these 9 legendary dragon pearls. These should be China's treasures. It's better not to sell them. Li Fan couldn't help but say. Naturally, my 300 million didn't include the price of these pearls. If these things slipped into the black market and were sold abroad, I'm afraid they could be sold for tens of billions. No, they are priceless treasures. They shouldn't be measured by money. Lu Xinnan said as she took out a tool and prepared to slowly take the pearls out of the dragon's mouth. She seemed to have known that there would be 9 dragon pearls here, so she prepared a long black box in advance. The outside was made of some kind of ancient wood. After opening it, there was a cold air inside. There were a total of 9 grooves on it. Lu Xinnan slowly took out these pearls and prepared to put them into the long box. But just as she touched the luminous pearls, they suddenly shone brightly. Lu Xinnan was so scared that she took a step back and almost threw the box. Fortunately, Li Fan stood behind her and supported her. 9 rays of light shot out and shone on the smooth stone wall behind them. Unexpectedly, an image was projected. It was as if the words of the ancients were stored within the 9 pearls. My great Ming dynasty was destroyed in the hands of 2 women. May my descendants fight against the Qing and restore the Ming. Then, an exceptional technique was imprinted on the stone wall through the radiance. Subhuti suddenly clasped his palms together, closing his eyes as tears streamed down his face. His body shone with golden light, illuminating the entire tomb, and actually outshone the radiance of the 9 dragon balls. The images on the stone wall disappeared, but Subhuti's face was filled with sorrow. This penniless monk is being affected by his appearance again. Subhuti wiped away the tears at the corners of his eyes. Those were the words of Grandmaster Kongzhen. He left behind his indestructible Vajra body technique and passed it on to his successors. The indestructible golden body that this penniless monk comprehended is just a drop in the ocean. Today, I have learned the whole thing. It's a fated opportunity. It must be Reverend Kong Chan who is in the Western Paradise blessing me. Come on, you're just lucky. The devil's incarnation didn't believe in fatalism, especially since he didn't have any faith. When he heard Subhudi's words, he rolled his eyes. If that old monk really saw you in the sky, he would have slapped you to death, you perverted monk. You have no faith in your heart. Buddha is merciful and won't lower himself to your level. But these sins will be returned to you sooner or later. The devil's incarnation laughed. Ha ha ha, I'm not afraid of the heavens or the earth. If you have the ability, ask God to take me. As soon as he finished speaking, the underground tomb suddenly began to shake. Gravel fell from above and smashed into the ground. Damn it, you jinx. Li Fan slapped the devil's incarnation's head, then together with Subhudi, he protected Lu Xinnan and took out the 9 dragon balls. Only then did they somewhat embarrassedly return the way they came, swimming back to the salvage boat from the sand hole. Li Jiwen had been waiting there for a long time, welcoming Lu Xinnan and the others with a smile. Boss Lu, we finally got in touch. When we lost contact, I thought something happened to you. Something did indeed happen, but fortunately, everyone got through it safely. Lu Xinnan thought of imperial concubine Zhou and the devil's incarnation Li Fan and felt a lingering fear. In the future, it's better not to make Li Fan angry. It's too scary. That's good. How much did you gain under the water? Li Jiwen asked, intentionally or unintentionally. It's okay, 200 to 300 million. Lu Xinnan wouldn't give everything to Li Jiwen. After deducting the expenses of this trip, plus some handling fees, it's good enough if I can earn 100 million. That shouldn't be. Li Jiwen couldn't help but ask, below is the great Ming dynasty's treasure, how can there only be so little money? I never told you what's below. Lu Xinnan's eyes sharpened as she looked at Li Jiwen. How did you know? Li Jiwen's eyes rolled twice, as if he couldn't think of a good excuse. He simply pulled out a pistol from his back and pointed it at Lu Xinnan. Boss Lu, I'm sorry. I'm afraid you can't take these treasures away. Oh, why not? Lu Xinnan was pointed at by a gun, but she didn't have the slightest bit of fear. There were a few people around her. Even if it's the devil's incarnation, Sun Qingchen, or even her own bodyguard, Yu Feng, they wouldn't let her be hurt by a mere pistol. This sea belongs to our country of the Philippines. Therefore, all the treasures here belong to our country of the Philippines. Li Jiwen revealed his ID, I'm a special police officer from the country of the Philippines. You can't take these treasures away. Country of the Philippines? Lu Xinnan's eyes immediately lit up, bullshit, this is our China's territorial waters. Everything belongs to us, the people of China. Boss Lu, do you still think that the great Ming dynasty is the world now? Li Jiwen sneered, it's already a modern society. China has long fallen. A while ago, the Incisor Arbitration Center had already conducted an arbitration. This sea belongs to our country of the Philippines. Why don't you say that the moon belongs to your country of the Philippines? Lu Xinnan's words were sharp as she ridiculed, a small country dares to touch the Tai Sui's head. Just as her voice fell, the devil's incarnation, Sun Qingchen, and Yu Feng raised their guns at the same time. The 3 of them stood in 3 different directions and pointed their muzzles at Li Jiwen. I know that you guys came prepared. Li Jiwen didn't panic, as if he didn't care about the 3 people's muzzles, the reason why I dared to come alone is naturally because I'm prepared. Everyone should show their trump cards. Although you, Miss Lu, are rich, you still can't go against the country's machinery. With that, Li Jiwen sent out a signal and a huge warship slowly appeared from the fog. Chapter 730. This battleship seemed to be a destroyer. It was huge and long, with one end holding cannons and the other hidden in the fog. However, this destroyer did not have the national emblem of the Philippines on it. Lu Xinnan looked at these battleships and couldn't help but laugh. Didn't they say that this is the territory of the Philippines? Why don't they have the national emblem and come here so brazenly? Li Jiwen was speechless. He adjusted himself and said, "Our country of the Philippines has always been low-key and doesn't like to use the name of a powerful country to suppress others." "Boss Lu, you are a smart person. You wouldn't want to use your team to fight against a national machine, right?" "National machine?" Lu Xinan laughed. "I'm sorry, in my heart, the Philippines is at most a province of China." "Too presumptuous. How dare you be so presumptuous in front of our country of the Philippines, the Great?" Li Jiwen couldn't help but mock. "Could it be that you still want to take away our treasures? You may not understand Chinese, but I don't mind saying it again." Lu Xinan emphasized again, "This is China's territory. These treasures also belong to us. It's just a group of people who steal treasures, yet they make themselves look so high and mighty." Li Jiwen sneered, "Boss Lu, you think too highly of yourself. We have investigated very clearly. This place has the great Ming dynasty's dragon tomb buried in it. There is a priceless treasure, the 9-dragon ball of China. I think Boss Lu has already obtained such a treasure. Return it to the Philippines along with the other treasures. This way, I can talk to the higher-ups and ask them to be lenient. They will only fine you a little and send you back to China. Do you think you have me in your hands?" Lu Xinan didn't panic at all. Instead, she was calm. She pinched her small waist, stood on the deck, and looked at the smug Li Jiwen. "Isn't it?" Li Jiwen held the gun in one hand and pointed it at Lu Xinan while the other hand pointed behind him. The huge ship behind him was like a war fortress. The cannons on it were all aimed at them, but Lu Xinan laughed. "Are you kidding me? Both you and I will be killed by this kind of artillery shell. Before that, I will leave." Li Jiwen took 2 steps back. On that battleship, there were a lot of Filipino mercenaries. He didn't know if they were real mercenaries or government soldiers. The mercenaries raised their guns in unison and aimed at the people below. Someone seemed to be saying something in Li Jiwen's communicator. Li Jiwen nodded and urged Lu Xinan. "Director Lu, hurry up and make your choice. We don't have much patience. I believe that Director Lu is a smart person. You won't risk your life for some money, right?" "Of course." Lu Xinan nodded and pointed at Li Fan. "That's why I hired them." Looking at the silent Li Fan, Li Jiwen's heart trembled slightly. Previously, no one knew what kind of weapon Li Fan had used to blow up the government's helicopter. It was indeed shocking. But even if he had a secret weapon, it was impossible for him to destroy a cruiser alone. If there was such a method, then the individual strength of human soldiers would be explosive. "Excuse me, Mr. Filipino agent." Li Fan had been watching the show for a long time. At this time, he finally stretched his body. "I am the escort for this trip, Li Fan. If you want to touch these treasures, you will have to step over our dead bodies." "Escort? What era is this? Is there still such a thing?" Li Jiwen disdainfully said, "This is modern society. Let me teach you what era is." As Li Jiwen spoke, he stretched out his hand and took out a syringe. "Do you see this? This is America's latest technology, Angel 1. Li Jiwen proudly said, "As long as I inject this drug, my body will be strengthened and I will obtain strength beyond that of a human. Whatever Chinese escort you are, I can easily pinch them to death." Li Fan almost laughed out loud. This devil incarnate directly ridiculed him. "Big brother, the US has already developed Angel 5. What Angel 1? You are the one who is behind the times." "Nonsense. The technology we have is the most advanced." Li Jiwen was already impatient. "Since you guys don't want to admit defeat, then die." As Li Jiwen spoke, he pulled the trigger and fired 3 shots in a row. The bullets were aimed at the center of Lu Xinan's eyebrows. At this time, Subhuti took a step forward. This perverted monk used his body to block the 3 bullets. Dang, dang, dang. The bullets hit Subhuti's forehead and all bounced off. "Umitba," Subhuti muttered to himself, "it doesn't hurt nor itch." "What?" Li Jiwen was shocked. How is this possible? A person, with his own body, could actually block his own bullet. This was a handgun, and it was firing real bullets, not BB bullets. Impossible, impossible. Could it be that you are a robot? Li Jiwen stared at Subhuti and asked. Ba, this poor monk only practices a martial art. Subhuti explained, do you want to learn? This poor monk can teach you. Li Fan laughed inwardly. Subhuti really knew how to fool people. This martial art of his was something that ordinary people could not cultivate. Even if Li Jiwen wanted to learn it, with his muscles and bones, he probably wouldn't be able to learn it. If martial arts were so easy to learn, then wouldn't everyone in China know martial arts? Demonic arts. They are all demonic arts. Li Jiwen took the syringe and pricked it into his arm. Although they had the warship of the Philippines behind them, the Philippines was still afraid of the might of China. If they could avoid using artillery fire, it was best not to. As Li Jiwen injected himself with Angel 1, the warship shot out 10 rail locks and connected them to the salvage ship. Following the rail locks, 10 mercenaries slid down. These 10 mercenaries stood behind Li Jiwen, seemingly preparing to commandeer the salvage ship. Surrender. Lu Xinnan. Li Jiwen felt that his body had been strengthened. He jumped back and landed on the railing next to him. Stepping on it, he laughed proudly at Lu Xinnan. You're so beautiful. If you died at such a young age, it would be such a pity. Why don't you leave your life behind and accompany me? I will be merciful and let you live. How about it? Mentally handicapped children are much happier. Lu Xinnan sighed. Li Fan, can you send him away? I'm not in a good mood tonight. I don't want to talk to this idiot. Okay. Li Fan exercised his muscles and bones. He was not very happy tonight. Imperial concubine Zhou had interfered and snatched their things. Now, these clowns from the Philippines jumped out and wanted to take advantage of them. Hee hee, dream on. Chapter 731. Stubborn fool, then go to hell. Li Jiwen ordered. He was prepared to shoot these Chinese treasure hunters to death. This was the territory of the Philippines, and all the wealth belonged to them. These Chinese people could not leave with a single cent. Their lives must remain here. Kill them. Li Jiwen was prepared to kill them. 10 mercenaries raised their M16s and aimed at Li Fan's side. They were prepared to kill all the Chinese people. Li Fan took a step forward and struck out with his palm at the same time. The powerful palm strike sent the 10 mercenaries flying. They did not even have the time to fire a single shot before they were sent flying into the sea below. What? Li Jiwen was shocked. He could not believe his eyes. That man. What did he do? With just one palm, from such a distance, he sent the soldiers of the Philippines flying? Sorcery. Looks like I have to do it myself. Li Jiwen stepped on the railing and suddenly bounced up. He turned into a cannonball and pounced towards Li Fan. Angel number 1 could indeed strengthen a human's strength. Every country, including China, was researching ways to break through the limits of human strength. That was why organizations like the Golden Empire were created. Actually, China had such a group of people since ancient times. They had always been at the peak of human physical strength. They were the martial artists of China. A group of martial artists who practiced both internal and external cultivation. They used true qi to nourish their bodies. One of the people who practiced true qi to the extreme was the immortal evil Buddha, Imperial concubine Zhou. This woman had actually practiced to such a terrifying level. It was unimaginable. The United States also had a breakthrough in the past 2 years. It was the angel potion that they developed. In the United States research, they discovered that human muscle strength was far from its limit. Just like the human brain, human muscles had more potential to be developed. Hence, the United States invented the angel potion. As the name suggested, it was to give humans the power of angels. With the help of the angel potion, human muscles could reach a more perfect state. The side effects of this potion were small, but the duration was short. The strength that could be developed was also not high. At the same time, an arms dealer named Sam developed a potion called Devil Potion. Unlike the angel potion, the devil potion would overdraft the human body's vitality from the moment it was created, transforming it into greater strength and lasting longer. However, the price was also very obvious. Normally, after consuming the devil's potion, it was like igniting a terrifying bomb in one's body. Once the energy was used up, the human body would completely collapse. From Angel 1 to Angel 5, the Americans were becoming more and more advanced in terms of human genetic modification. Unfortunately, these Filipino soldiers thought that he was using the most advanced gene potions. Li Jiwen's feet bounced, and the railing under his feet immediately bent. His body bounced and he somersaulted in the air, then he punched at Li Fan. His strength had been strengthened by genes. According to the manual, he should be able to kill a bull with a single punch. With this kind of strength, even if it was the Huaxia escort in front of him, his face would probably be smashed into meat paste. Li Jiwen was full of confidence, but Li Fan stood motionless in front of him, allowing Li Jiwen's fist to land on his cheek. Li Fan's cheek tilted slightly, as if the other party's fist was just a tickle to him. "I'm sorry, it seems like you haven't eaten." Li Fan smiled. "Impossible." Li Jiwen was shocked. He couldn't believe his eyes. This was a punch that was strengthened by physical strength. How could it be blocked? Li Jiwen roared and landed on Li Fan, one punch after another, landing on his body. However, Li Fan crossed his arms and did not move, allowing Li Jiwen's fists to fall like rain. Bang, bang, bang. The fists landed on Li Fan's body, but he did not even blink, as if Li Jiwen's attack was just air. "What's wrong? Did you not eat?" Li Fan asked. "Damn it." Li Jiwen suddenly stretched out his hand and forcibly broke the iron railing next to him, stabbing the sharp end toward Li Fan's chest. Clang! Li Fan stretched out a finger and flicked the iron pipe away. At the same time, he stepped forward and put his shoulder against Li Jiwen's chest. Puff! Li Jiwen's body immediately flew out like a can that had been kicked. He slammed into the battleship behind him, creating a human-shaped dent in the steel plate of the battleship. His whole body was embedded in it. Li Jiwen spat out a large mouthful of blood, and all the bones in his body were broken. "We're not on the same level. It's boring to fight." Li Fan sighed. At this moment, the captain of the destroyer could not help but adjust the muzzle and aim at the salvaged ship again. They were ready to blast these guys away and fish out the treasures that belonged to their country of the Philippines from their wreckage. Humph. Li Fan directly jumped up, did a somersault in the air, and instantly landed on the destroyer in front of him. The muzzles of the cannons were aimed at Li Fan. Li Fan directly threw 2 kicks at the pair of cannons. This pair of iron cannons was actually bent by Li Fan and turned into scrap iron. However, there were many cannons on the destroyer, and they immediately began to fire at Li Fan. Bang, bang, bang. The shells fired by these cannons could even penetrate steel plates. Now that they were used against a human, it was obvious that they regarded Li Fan as the biggest threat. Li Fan did a cloud ladder jump, his left foot stepping on his right foot stepping on his left foot, and in a few steps, he jumped 100 meters into the air. Divine Dragon General. Li Fan didn't have a good time tonight and was sulking. At this time, he was 100 meters in the air, looking down at the huge destroyer below. He planned to vent his anger on this thing. Open fire, open fire. The captain felt that something was wrong. He ordered all the anti-air pagoda cannons on the destroyer to start firing, and the cannons continuously shot at Li Fan. Li Fan was unmoved. He hung upside down in the air and channeled all his strength into his palm. Dragon King Seal. Li Fan slapped down with his palm, and the huge destroyer below immediately shook and sank. It was directly smashed into 2 by Li Fan's palm. The captain was so scared that he wet his pants. The shock and anger made him feel as if he had fallen into hell. How was this possible? That was a person. How could a person destroy a battleship? This was impossible. It must be a dream, it must be. Li Fan landed back on the salvage ship, which was now leaving quickly to avoid being dragged into the whirlpool by the silent battleship. Chapter 732. Li Fan landed on the salvage boat while the Demon King was still in shock. Boss. You are too sick. You single-handedly overturned a warship. My ass. Li Fan rolled his eyes. If you want to destroy a destroyer with a single palm, I guess only a grandmaster of a generation has such power. I originally just wanted to leave a palm print on the deck to scare these people. Who would have thought that I accidentally damaged the engine of the destroyer, and then this thing sank? Fuck, America's father's obsolete goods. It really is bad. The Demon King finally understood and could not help but want to curse. Luckily this thing is not sturdy, otherwise it would be a tough battle tonight. Li Fan sat down at the side. I have consumed too much power tonight. If I fight with these people again, it will be too damaging to my chi. In any case, I got the 9 Dragon Ball, this trip was not in vain. Lu Xinnan was still a little happy, and Sub Hoodie also clasped her hands together, very happy. Ba, I also got the old ancestors' Vajra body, this is really a great opportunity. Hee, this gold brick is also real. The Demon King took out a gold brick and fiercely took a bite, feeling so happy that his teeth hurt. The calmest one was Sun Qingchen. He sat at the side without saying a word, observing the surrounding situation with binoculars. Li Fan was a little depressed, the one who suffered the most tonight was him. Not only did he not get the Vairocana Heart Sutra, but he also provoked a female devil. Anyway, I can rest now. Li Fan leaned on the boat, feeling the swaying of the sea, and gradually felt sleepy. But at this moment, a small boat next to him slowly approached. A beautiful woman stood on the boat, and she suddenly jumped up and landed on the deck. And at this moment, Li Fan was sleeping soundly. Having just experienced 2 big battles, Li Fan had completely let down his guard. The Demon King and the others looked at Imperial Concubine Zhou in front of them in shock. How did this woman appear again? Before they could speak, Imperial Consort Zhou gestured for them to keep quiet. Shoo, don't wake him up, or I'll kill you first. As for Sub Hoodie, he took a single step forward, only to be knocked to his knees by a single blow from Imperial Concubine Zhou. Be quiet. I don't have much patience. Imperial Concubine Zhou looked at Li Fan, who was sleeping soundly, and her smile became even wider. For a moment, all the men were infatuated. This was also the first time Sun Qingchen and Yufeng saw Imperial Consort Zhou, and they were also deeply captivated by her beauty. Didn't you escape? Why did you come back? Lu Xinnan stood at the side and looked at Imperial Concubine Zhou. Her eyes revealed a deep fear. How can a martial battle be decided in just 1 or 2 moves? Imperial Concubine Zhou smiled and said, you guys are looking down on the world of martial arts. In the world of martial arts, one side does not die, the other side will not rest. After a battle, it was the time when people slacked the most. Imperial Concubine Zhou made a beautiful comeback, preparing to deal with Li Fan. Lu Xinnan was about to say something, but at this moment, the water they were in suddenly rolled up a whirlpool, pulling the salvage boat into the whirlpool. What happened? Seeing this scene, Imperial Concubine Zhou couldn't help but frown. The weather is so good, where did the whirlpool come from? At this moment, a figure slowly rose from the whirlpool, carrying his body and sending him in front of everyone. If Li Fan was still awake, he would definitely recognize this person. Poseidon. I finally found you, Li Fan. At this time, Poseidon's body has already been occupied by the god of creation. He crossed his arms, stepped on the water, and looked at the people on the boat. You're finally here. Although Lu Xinnan didn't know Poseidon, she had a woman's premonition. As the saying goes, when it rains, it pours. This guy is definitely not a friend. However, he seems to be very powerful. Right now, I can make use of him. But we have Imperial Concubine Zhou, there's nothing you can do. As Lu Xinan spoke, she silently looked at Imperial Concubine Zhou. Hee, are they some so-called martial fighters again? Poseidon's gaze also fell on Imperial Concubine Zhou. I don't know how many martial artists I've killed in China. From the looks of it, you should be a barbarian from the west. Hearing Poseidon's disdainful words, Imperial Concubine Zhou became unhappy. She stretched out her hands, circulating 2 streams of true qi in her palms. Little barbarians, how dare you be so presumptuous in my great Ming dynasty? You're courting death. As expected, another arrogant martial artist. Today, I'll have another dead soul in my hands. As Poseidon spoke, he stretched out his hand, and the water next to him immediately rolled up a waterspout, directly rolling towards the salvage boat. Child's play. With Imperial Concubine Zhou's cultivation, she stepped on the deck and blew a stream of true qi at the waterspout. True qi storm. The waterspout was forcibly blown away by her breath. Poseidon was stunned for a moment, then frowned. This woman did not seem to be simple. You can use the power of the 5 elements? You have some skills, barbarian. Imperial Concubine Zhou's eyes were full of smiles. But this is nothing new. As she spoke, she stretched out her right hand towards the sea beside her. A wave in the sea was immediately sucked over by her. Like a waterspout, it poured into her palm. This mass of seawater formed an oval ball, constantly spinning in Imperial Concubine Zhou's hand. Why don't you feel this power too? As Imperial Concubine Zhou spoke, she held the ball of water in her hands and directly threw it at Poseidon. Poseidon stretched out his right hand, and a wave rose in front of him, forming a wall of water, trying to block Imperial Concubine Zhou's water ball. Bang! Unexpectedly, the water ball was wrapped in powerful true qi. It actually directly pierced through the wall of water and hit Poseidon's chest. Humph! Poseidon snorted. With a wave of his hand, he actually used the power of his mind to throw the water ball away. A few remaining assault boats from the Philippines were chasing after them. On the boat was the first officer of the destroyer. He had originally wanted to catch up with these people, perform meritorious deeds for the country, and then obtain glory, promotion, and wealth. However, no one had expected that before his grand plan could be realized, a spinning water ball greeted him. It's just a water ball. Just as the first officer snorted, the water ball hit his assault boat. Boom! A huge wave of air erupted from the water ball, sweeping up all the assault boats, crumbling them into a ball before tearing them apart. The people on the assault boats were not spared either. They were all minced into meat paste. Blood dyed the sea red. Imperial Concubine Zhou looked at Poseidon in front of her, her eyebrows slightly furrowed. You barbarian, you do have some skills. You are only a little stronger than the martial artists I killed. Poseidon looked up and down at Imperial Concubine Zhou. However, just a little. Chapter 733. Is that so? Imperial Concubine Zhou was very arrogant. As she spoke, her figure instantly appeared above Poseidon's head. Then, she slammed her palm down on Poseidon. Poseidon reached out and pushed Imperial Concubine Zhou, trying to use his mind power to push her away. However, Imperial Concubine Zhou was not someone to be bullied by Poseidon. Poseidon's mind control was countered by Imperial Concubine Zhou's true energy. At the same time, Imperial Concubine Zhou's palm had already landed on Poseidon's forehead. Bang! Poseidon's body directly broke through the water and sank into the sea. However, the water surged and formed 2 huge palms. They rose from both sides and grabbed towards Imperial Concubine Zhou. Imperial Concubine Zhou reached out and grabbed 2 waves, forming 2 water swords. She held them in her hands and waved them, instantly cutting the 2 huge water palms into pieces. Imperial Concubine Zhou's ability was to turn illusions into reality. Coupled with her control of true energy, it was not a problem at all to turn the waves into two sharp swords. A huge wave rolled up into the sky and turned into thousands of horses and soldiers, rushing towards Imperial Concubine Zhou. Humph. Imperial Concubine Zhou stepped on the water. Her qinggong allowed her to walk on the waves. To her, the sea was like walking on flat ground. Looking at the thousands of horses and soldiers coming towards her, Imperial Concubine Zhou was not afraid at all. Instead, she smiled. This is lively. Imperial Concubine Zhou said as she grabbed the two water swords and swept them horizontally. Two huge waves of sword energy swept out, instantly cutting the thousands of horses and soldiers into splashes again, scattering into the sea. Poseidon, on the other hand, was floating in the sky with his right hand raised. An ancient shipwreck was floating above his head. Water was still flowing from the shipwreck, as if it had just been pulled out from the bottom of the sea. In the time that Imperial Concubine Zhou turned around, Poseidon had already thrown the huge shipwreck towards her. Imperial Concubine Zhou dispersed the two water swords and turned into a Buddha statue. At the same time, she hit the shipwreck above her head with a merciful palm. Dong! The shipwreck was directly pierced through. The shipwreck broke into several pieces and scattered in the surrounding water, stirring up the sea. What kind of strength? Poseidon's expression finally changed. After fighting for so long, he finally realized how powerful Imperial Concubine Zhou was. When did such a master appear in Huaxia? How could a martial grandmaster cultivate to this level? He had endured for so long. Was he going to return empty-handed? I'm the creator. Poseidon's eyes glowed with a golden light. The water beneath him surged as if affected by his emotions. This is the territory of my great Ming dynasty. You barbarians, get out of here. As Imperial Concubine Zhou spoke, she flicked her finger upwards. A few waves flew out of the water and formed a few water swords. They floated in front of her and pointed at Poseidon. Huaxia monkey, your time of death has come. Many red marks appeared on Poseidon's body. The sea beneath him began to change. With him as the center, circles of ripples spread out. Poseidon suddenly roared, and the waves beneath him rolled up. Following his movements, he turned into a giant that was more than 10 meters tall. He punched Imperial Concubine Zhou. That's all you've got. Imperial Concubine Zhou pointed her finger, and several water swords pierced through the air. These water swords were under Imperial Concubine Zhou's control. They immediately pierced through the water giant's arm and flew towards Poseidon. However, the water giant's fist condensed again and smashed heavily into Imperial Concubine Zhou's body. The water swords also pierced through Poseidon's body. Imperial Concubine Zhou sank into the sea, while Poseidon's body was pierced with several bloody holes. In this battle, both sides were injured. In the end, I'm still stronger. The creator calmed his injuries. He was using his mind power to speed up his metabolism, allowing the bloody holes on his body to slowly heal. However, his mind power was also greatly depleted. He was a little tired. However, at this moment, a water sword suddenly broke through the surface of the sea and shot out. The creator could not dodge in time, and his arm was cut off. Meanwhile, Imperial Concubine Zhou floated out of the water. She was supported by vital energy and slowly ascended. However, her skin had aged a lot. It was obvious that she had overused her vital energy. The creator knew that he was not Imperial Concubine Zhou's opponent today. Looking at this somewhat old woman, he actually felt a little fear in his heart. It seemed that his strength had not fully recovered yet. It was better not to fight with her. Otherwise, he would definitely suffer a great loss. The creator plunged into the sea below him, and in the blink of an eye, he was far away. Ha 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 ha. Imperial Concubine Zhou could not help but laugh. At that moment, her appearance was slightly ferocious. I am still the strongest in the world. Her gaze fell on the quietly floating salvage ship. Her entire body bounced in the air and landed on the ship. Come out and die. Imperial concubine Zhou had lost a large amount of vital energy. She urgently needed Subhoodie and Li Fan's vital energy to replenish her nutrients. However, Imperial concubine Zhou found that there was no one on the ship. She immediately closed her eyes and sensed the movement around her. Her hearing was far superior to ordinary people. She had already heard that there was not even a single heartbeat on the ship. She was afraid that during the battle just now, those people had already moved away. Damn it! Imperial concubine Zhou searched around the ship. The 9-dragon pearl that was buried with her was also gone. She had originally planned to keep a piece and bring it back. She did not expect that she would lose both her life and wealth. Imperial concubine Zhou was furious. With a wave of her hand, the bow of the salvaged ship was directly broken by her palm. At this moment, Lu Xinnan and the others were driving an assault ship towards the small island where they came from. Fortunately, the distance was not very far. Otherwise, this assault ship would definitely not have enough fuel. Lu Xinnan looked at Li Fan, who was still sleeping like a dead pig, and rolled her eyes. It was already like this, but he still hadn't woken up. It seemed that the 2 previous battles had consumed a lot of his energy. These 2 people are too scary. Before leaving, Lu Xinnan had already felt a wave of power. The speed of the assault ship was a bit faster. She made a prompt decision and took a few people, carrying the gold bricks, and abandoned the ship to escape. In this vast sea, it would be difficult for Imperial concubine Zhou to catch them. Sigh. If only that woman could catch up, the devil incarnate actually sighed, making Lu Xinnan so angry that she almost slapped him. The few men were a bit resentful. The influence that Imperial concubine Zhou gave them was too great. Lu Xinnan also had no choice. Imperial concubine Zhou's lethality was too strong. She concentrated on driving the ship. At this time, Yufeng suddenly stepped forward and pushed Lu Xinnan away. Yufeng, what are you doing? Lu Xinnan was taken aback. Chapter 734. I want to go back and see that woman. Yufeng's eyes flashed with madness. I love her. Lu Xinnan's heart sank. Is this Yufeng bewitched? Dream lover, wait for me, I'm coming. Yufeng's eyes flashed with madness as he replaced Lu Xinnan to steer the assault boat and was about to change direction. Scram! Lu Xinnan pulled out the M4A1 from her back and pointed it at Yufeng. But Yufeng roared. As long as I can see the goddess. So what if I die? Lu Xinnan frowned. If they go back, they will die. She lowered the muzzle and aimed it at Yufeng's calf. If this shot goes down, Yufeng might be crippled in the future. But being crippled is better than being dead. She can give Yufeng a huge pension. That was the greatest mercy he could show her. Before Lu Xinnan could fire, the devil incarnate had already fired a shot. Dang! The Type 38 bullet accurately hit Lu Xinnan's M4A1, causing the weapon to fly out. We want to go back and see the goddess. The devil's incarnation roared. Lu Xinnan hurriedly turned to look at the nearby Subhoodie. Subhoodie's eyes were closed, and he was murmuring to himself. Ba. Benefactor Zhou, this poor monk is coming. Lu Xinnan was about to despair, but at this moment, Sun Qingchen, who had been sitting quietly by the side, suddenly made a move. Sun Qingchen silently stood up, stood behind the demon incarnate, and directly chopped down on the demon incarnate's neck. The devil incarnate snorted and fainted. Yufeng sensed something was wrong and turned around. Sun Qingchen threw out a dagger and stabbed it into Yufeng's shoulder, causing Yufeng to scream in pain. What are you doing? Yufeng screamed again and again. Are you awake now? Sun Qingchen took over the helm. You guys were bewitched by that woman and nearly drove the boat back. Ah, me? Yufeng was stunned for a moment. He glanced at Lu Xinnan and found that Lu Xinnan was glaring at him angrily. He more or less understood. As for Subhoodie, he just sat there, continuing to murmur to himself. It seemed as though no matter what happened, he wouldn't interfere. Why are you fine? Lu Xinan looked at Sun Qingchen strangely. I have no love for women. Sun Qingchen's words caused Lu Xinan to be terrified. Fortunately, Subhuti was quite calm as well. If he had attacked, we would have all been finished. While Li Fan was sleeping, Subhuti was the most powerful person here. Just as Lu Xinan let out a sigh of relief, Subhuti opened his eyes. Looks like this poor monk can only take action personally. As he spoke, Subhuti walked towards Sun Qingchen, causing all of the hairs on Sun Qingchen's body to stand up. Lu Xinan hurriedly picked up the M4A1 again, aimed it at Bodhi, and prepared to fire. She fired a few shots consecutively, but the bullets bounced off Subhuti's invincible golden body. Seeing Subhuti stretch out his hand and bend Sun Qingchen's dagger, Lu Xinan felt despair again. Is it fated that we won't be able to escape tonight? However, right at that moment, the good guy card in Li Fan's pocket jumped out. Murong Ying, dressed in her flying lion armor, suddenly appeared. She pushed her shield forward, slamming it into Subhuti's body and forcing him to take a step back. Amitabha. This poor monk is wholeheartedly devoted to Buddha. No one can stop me. Subhuti's eyes were filled with determination. He put his palms together and took another step forward. His head was like a hammer, slamming heavily onto Murong Ying's shield. With a clang that sounded like the chime of a bell, Murong Ying was forced to take a step back. Lu Xinan was a little worried. There was shooting and fighting here, and the noise was so loud. She hoped that it wouldn't attract the attention of that demoness. Luckily, the sea was big enough, and they were far enough away. Therefore, although the noise was a little loud, it didn't attract Imperial concubine Zhou. Amitabha. Subhuti had already learned the complete invincible golden body. His entire body was like steel, and he was practically a human-shaped weapon. Subhuti took another step forward and smashed his head towards Murong Ying again. Although Murong Ying was only transformed from a good guy card, she seemed to have some simple intelligence now. She raised her shield and met Subhuti's head but once again. And this time, the shield in Murong Ying's hand had a hint of golden light. Dong! This time, Murong Ying and Subhuti took a step back at the same time. The assault boat was a little shaky. Clearly, it couldn't withstand the strength of the two people. Lu Xinan was even more worried. They wouldn't be overturned, right? This assault boat was their only hope of going back. Murong Ying raised her shield with both hands, and the shield suddenly shone with a golden light, shining on Subhuti's face. Subhuti's eyes flickered, and his expression changed. He shook his head desperately. Almost in the blink of an eye, Subhuti had woken up. Amitabha, this little monk was actually bewitched. Subhuti had a look of shame. The invincible golden body that even aphrodisiac couldn't get rid of was actually bewitched by the charm of a woman today. It seems that this is not just the charm of imperial concubine Zhou. Subhuti began to wash himself. It seems that he practiced some kind of charm technique. Just now, you guys were really scary. Lu Xinan breathed a sigh of relief. She looked at Murong Ying, who was slowly dissipating, and thought to herself, I was actually saved by this woman. How annoying. Because she was also responsible for a part of the Special Abilities Bureau's expenses, she knew some things about the Bureau. She had read some information about the good guy card. It's good that you're fine, although Yu Feng's shoulder was injured, he was still alive. Moreover, he didn't drag the eldest miss down. We are not far from our destination, but I don't know if we can return to the dock smoothly. Lu Xinan couldn't help but feel a little worried. When they left, they had alarmed the government forces on the island. Now, it was unknown whether they could return safely or not. No matter who the enemy is, just do it. Sun Qingchen also kicked the devil's incarnation awake. He was adjusting his 38 moves, and when he heard Lu Xinan's words, he immediately became ruthless. Tonight was too unpleasant. Not only was he robbed of a lot of money, but he was also bewitched by a woman. It was as if the devil's incarnation had never seen a woman before. Too shameful. Too shameful. Brother Sun, why are you fine? The devil's incarnation couldn't help but ask. It has nothing to do with you. Sun Qingchen didn't explain, and the devil's incarnation couldn't help but speculate. We are arriving at the dock. Wake up Li Fan. Lu Xinan ordered, and the devil's incarnation patted Li Fan's arm. Boss, we are here. Wake up. However, Li Fan was still sleeping soundly. He seemed to have entered a deep sleep and didn't react to what was happening outside at all. He should still be recovering. Yu Feng carried Li Fan on his back. Although he wasn't a martial fighter, his physique was still very high. It wasn't a problem for him to carry a man. Chapter 735. An assault boat slowly approached the pier in the dark. Lu Xinan was dumbfounded. On the pier, there was a row of military assault vehicles as if they were waiting for Lu Xinan and the rest to come ashore. We're finished, Lu Xinan wanted to cry. The assault boat's fuel had already been used up. If they did not come ashore, they would die. Li Fan still did not show any signs of waking up. He sure had it easy on this escort trip. Although she knew that it was not Li Fan's fault, this scene still made Lu Xinan so anxious that she wanted to cry. The Demon King took out a Gatling gun from his canvas bag and placed it on the assault boat as he stuffed the ammunition inside. Kill. The Demon King's eyes were red as he prepared to kill to his heart's content tonight. Sun Qingchen held his hand. Don't be anxious. Something is not right. What's not right? Sun Qingchen passed the binoculars to Lu Xinan. The latter picked it up and looked towards the pier. All of the government soldiers were lying in a pool of blood. Each of them had a flying knife in between their eyebrows. Yin Tian stood on top of a military vehicle with a flying knife in her hand as she looked into the distance. She finally saw the assault boat and saw Lu Xinan and the rest. She happily waved at them. Luckily, Lu Xinan let out a sigh of relief. When did Li Fan arrange for Yin Tian to clean up the battlefield? Boss has always been meticulous. Sun Qingchen muttered in his heart. After following Ling Tian for so long, the boss naturally learned to be more quick-witted. Ling Tian's way of doing things could only be described with one word: cautious. The assault boat slowly docked. All of the enemies on the pier had been killed. You guys are finally back. After the boat docked, Yin Tian said sweetly, I have waited for you guys for a long time. You're back. Quickly return to the hotel. The return boat would only arrive tomorrow. Lu Xinan ordered. What's wrong with Brother Li Fan? Yin Tian saw the unconscious Li Fan and immediately asked. He consumed too much of his true qi and fell asleep. He'll probably need to sleep for a period of time. Then during this time, leave Big Brother Li Fan's safety to me. Just as Yin Tian said that, someone suddenly extended a gun from the corner and fired at Li Fan. Muronging appeared again. She held the lion face shield and blocked the bullet. Clang! With a crisp sound of impact, the bullet fell to the ground. Sniper! The devil incarnate was taken aback. At the same time, Muronging grabbed a golden spear with her right hand and threw it in the direction of the bullet. Pooh! The spear instantly pierced through the man's head and nailed him to the container behind him, his body dangling from the container. This time, Muronging, who was wearing the golden flying lion armor, did not disappear. Instead, she chose to stand beside Li Fan and protect him. How dangerous! Yin Tian breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that I'm still a bit immature. It's okay. Li Fan has the life of a cockroach, he won't die. Lu Xinan comforted Yin Tian. She was also a bit tired. Today's harvest was still good, but the fright was not small. The few of them commandeered a military Iveco and drove all the way back to the hotel. Along the way, Muronging still guarded Li Fan, not leaving him an inch. The others simply did not care anymore. In any case, this woman was Li Fan's good person card, she was definitely responsible for protecting him. Li Fan was left in the room and continued to sleep. Meanwhile, Muronging had been standing next to him with a sword in one hand and a shield in the other. She did not move at all, as if she was a statue. This night was not peaceful. When dawn came, Li Fan still did not wake up. It was Yin Tian who carried him out. Muronging still guarded Li Fan, without any intention of leaving. It's already been a day. Seeing that Muronging was still there, Beauty could not help but be surprised. This is really inconceivable. This good person card needs to consume mental power. How much mental power would be needed for one night? The changes in Li Fan's body had already exceeded Beauty's imagination. Luckily Li Fan has a kind nature. If his heart was not right and wholeheartedly did evil, this is really unimaginable. Beauty secretly rejoiced, thinking that the entire pugilistic world was too lucky. This time we will not take a boat. Lu Xinan said to them, change to a private plane and take off from the island's private airport. Okay. The devil incarnate understood Lu Xinan's meaning. Last night's adventure on the sea was enough to make them shudder with fear. Right now, flying home in the sky seemed to be a bit safer. Seems like, it's not easy to travel. Sun Qingchen went out to look around before walking back with a black face. We have been surrounded. What? The devil incarnate pulled open the curtains, pushed open the window by the side and looked outside. Bang! A bullet hit the wall by the side, scaring the devil incarnate into lowering his head and shrinking his neck. Damn it! The devil incarnate almost vomited blood. Are you for real? Outside is practically the entire island's army. Damn it, what the hell is going on? Lu Xinan picked up a small mirror and looked outside. There was a huge crowd outside. The island's army seemed to be gathered here. They probably treated this as a terrorist base. No wonder they couldn't find the hotel staff early in the morning. It seems like all of them ran away. But when they ran away, the hotel's defense system was still open, thus the army outside did not come in for a while. Although it is the army, the military strength on this island is very poor and there are no powerful soldiers. There wasn't even a single tank on the entire island. There were only a few armored vehicles there to support the situation. The island's army commander sits in an armored vehicle and looks angrily at the adjutant beside him. Damn it, so many troops and they can't even deal with a hotel? Lord Commander, we can flatten this hotel. But the defense system is still open. If we force our way in, I'm afraid our injuries will be very deep. At that time, we will lose 800 of our own men. It is too disadvantageous for us. The adjutant was telling the truth. The commander thought for a moment and asked. What about the Storm Mercenary Group? We have spent money, why are they still not sending out their troops? The last time they were able to overthrow the old government, it was this group of people who hired the Storm Mercenary Group to help. The commander does not want his own soldiers to die. Spending money to hire people to fight seems to be more cost-effective. They will arrive in 20 minutes. The adjutant looks at the time. Once they arrive, the hotel's defense problem will be solved. Not bad. The commander nods his head in satisfaction. Get rid of these resistance army and tell everyone that this island belongs to us. Chapter 736. The government was supported by the Philippines, and their goal was to take control of this island. The Philippines had secretly provided them with some weapons and funds. The Tri-Army commander felt sorry for his subordinates. He used to be the boss of a mercenary group, but he was hired by the Philippines and became the military representative of the new regime. In order to ensure his strength, he spent money to hire the Storm Mercenary Group to help him get rid of these damn rebels. Under the ardent expectation of the Tri-Army commander, a tank, 3 mechs, and a military truck slowly drove over. In the military truck, there were a total of 20 Storm mercenaries. Each of them were elites and experts in killing. The Tri-Army commander spent a large sum of money to get rid of this so-called rebel base. Storm Mercenary Group. Sun Qingchen and the rest had already set up the periscope. Through the lens, they saw a group of war machines outside. The demon incarnate was shocked. Damn, this group of people is really generous. They even invited Storm. The infamous Storm mercenary group. Lu Xinnan frowned. This time, it seems bad. Counter soldiers with arms, water with earth. The demon incarnate began to load the RPG. Although he was shocked, he did not show any fear. At most, I will just send them a big one. The demon incarnate was annoyed. If I knew this would happen, I should have brought a nuclear bomb. Damn, do you think you are a terrorist? Sun Qingchen rolled his eyes at the demon incarnate. The most important thing now is to escape. Subhoodie, can you escort us out? Ba, this poor monk is not afraid of these people. Subhoodie stood there with his hands clasped together, but with so many enemies, I am afraid I can't protect you all. That's true, there are so many of us. Subhoodie is the only monk, he can't protect us all. Don't you still have me? Yin Tian volunteered and shouted. You are still not enough. You have enough offense, but not enough defense. Subhoodie said hurriedly. He glanced at Murongying, who was standing next to him. In his heart, he murmured to himself, if only these two sisters could help us out. Such a pity, such a pity. Subhoodie felt a little regretful, while Sun Qingchen found a hotel map from God knows where and was studying it. This kind of fortress-like hotel should have an escape route. Sun Qingchen looked at the map and studied it in detail. Why are you looking for a passageway? If it were up to me, we'd just fight our way out. The devil's incarnation patted his chest. Let this daddy blow a path of blood for you first. With that, the devil incarnate tore open his shirt, revealing a circle of detonators tied inside. You better behave yourself. Sun Qingchen was almost angered to death. This fellow is too impatient. He's really a devil incarnate. Let's use the tunnel. Lu Xinnan chose a path. It's safer this way. As long as we reach the airport, we'll win for sure. Sure. Sun Qingchen pointed at the map. According to the map, there is an underground tunnel at the parking lot that leads to the highway outside the city. Parking lot? Lu Xinnan looked at the map. It's outside the hotel. Yes, it's not difficult. Sun Qingchen quickly gave them a mission. Subhoodie, go attract their attention. The few of us will wait for you to attract their attention before walking to the parking lot. This penniless monk has become a sacrificial lamb. Subhoodie blinked his eyes. Yes, I feel that you should be called a great warrior. Sun Qingchen said, you will definitely perform well. Sun Qingchen said in his heart. You are a human-shaped meat shield. Ba, if I don't enter hell, who will? All right. The rest of you follow me. Sun Qingchen picked up the two Uzi assault rifles and walked out of the room. The Storm mercenaries had arrived. A tank was parked outside with its cannon aimed at the hotel. Fire! Under the command of the commander, the tank fired a shot. Boom! A corner of the hotel was immediately blasted and the building trembled. At this moment, Lu Xinnan and the others were already waiting in the hall with their men. Another shot. The commander was very excited. This tank's long-range attack completely countered the hotel's defense system. Looks like there is no need to use these three mechas anymore. He had spent so much money for nothing. What a waste. The commander was already very confident. As long as this wave of resistance army was wiped out, the entire island's resistance army would cease to exist. As the saying goes, kill the chicken to warn the monkey. The tank was reloading and the cannon moved slightly, aiming in another direction of the hotel. Boom! The cannon shot out and flames burst out. But after the flames dissipated, the hotel was safe and sound. A bald monk stood there with his palms together. His kasaya was in tatters from the explosion. Ba, Subhoodie, under everyone's astonished gazes, slowly said, fellow benefactors, would it be possible for us to have a calm and peaceful chat? Kill him. After a brief chat, the commanding officer fired another artillery shell at Bodhi. Subhoodie stretched out his palm and used his palm to block the cannon. With a boom, flames shot out in all directions. But Subhoodie was still fine and his palm was still emitting black smoke. Ba. Can't we have a good chat? Benefactors? Subhoodie said with some heartache. Buddha is merciful. He is willing to give everyone a chance to live. This fellow is strange. Kill him. Kill him. The commander felt a wave of panic. He immediately ordered the storm mercenaries to focus fire on the monk. 3 mechas ejected missiles and fired at the monk. Dozens of satellite missiles flew out and drew a few arcs in the air before landing on Subhoodie's body. Boom. 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 The missiles kept exploding, hitting Subhoodie's body one after another. However, Subhoodie was unmoved. He was like a Vajra. The missiles did not cause him any damage at all. It looks like reasoning won't work. Subhoodie sighed as though he was very disappointed. The commander's heart raced. Who was this person? What was his body made of? Even missiles were ineffective against him. Actually, Subhoodie had his limits. His body was also consuming a large amount of quintessential chi to withstand such attacks. Subhoodie was not invincible. When he ran out of quintessential chi, his invincible body would be broken. At that time, he would be no different from an ordinary person. One shot would be enough to take his life. After these few rounds of attacks, Subhoodie's quintessential chi had been depleted quite a bit. But he persevered. He persevered until Lu Xinan and the rest escaped. Subhoodie's existence was to attract firepower.